Hello there everyone, welcome to Nightmare Narratives. I am your storyteller and I'm here to guide you tonight. I know many of you use these videos to drift off to sleep, so before we begin, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. I'm always curious, where are you watching from and what time is it in your part of the world? Now, find your cozy spot and relax. My name is Frank Murdoch. I've been a park ranger in the Black Hills for 3 years now. Most days, I like the quiet. Today, something feels wrong. The sun was just coming up when I stepped outside my cabin this morning. Frost covered the pine, needles, making everything sparkle. Beautiful, if you didn't know better, but I do. The mist was rising off Spearfish Creek like always, but today I could swear I heard whispers in it. Not English, not any language I know, just fragments of sound. That made the hair on my neck stand up. The forest was too quiet. That's what got to me first. No birds singing, no squirrels chattering, not even the sound of wind in the trees. Just ... nothing. Like the whole forest was holding its breath. I walked past those old rock carvings the Lakota made hundreds of years ago. I don't usually pay them much mind, but today, I could swear they moved when I wasn't looking directly at them. Like they were alive somehow, twisting when I only saw them from the corner of my eye. The weather changed too fast. My thermometer read 45 degrees when I left the cabin. 20 minutes later, it dropped to 20. The sky was clear blue, no clouds, no storm, no reason for it. My radio started acting up when I passed near the old burial grounds. Just static and weird sounds. I've had that radio for years. Never failed me before. The snow from last night should have been covered in tracks, deer, rabbits, foxes, they're always moving around, but there was nothing. Miles of perfect white snow, like every animal had run away in the night. The trees had ice on them, but not normal ice. It formed perfect shapes, triangles, squares, spirals. Ice doesn't do that naturally. I touched one and pulled my hand back fast. It burned like fire. My compass went crazy around noon. The needle just spun and spun, then pointed straight toward the deepest part of the forest, the part no one goes to, not even me. Above me, ravens gathered, dozens of them. Then hundreds. They just circled overhead, black against the blue sky. They never landed, never made a sound, just watched. I'd been in these woods my whole life, grew up here before the war, came back after. I know every tree, every rock, every sound these hills make. But today, these aren't my woods anymore. Something's here, something hungry, and I think it knows my name. I don't talk much about Korea. The war changed me. It's been 7 years, but some days it feels like yesterday. My hands shake in the mornings, bad enough that making coffee is a struggle. The pot rattles against the cup, and I spill more than I drink. The doctors call it combat stress. I call it remembering too much. This scar on my face, got it when our plane took a hit. Piece of metal sliced right through my cheek. Hurt like hell, but I was one of the lucky ones. Many guys never came home. I keep my dad's old silver pocket watch with me always. He gave it to me before he couldn't take it anymore after losing everything in 29. Said time was the only thing no one could take from you. Guess he was wrong about that. Mary was waiting when I got back from Korea. We were supposed to get married, had it all planned out, but one look at my face, not the scar, but my eyes, and she knew I wasn't the same man who left. You're empty inside, she said the day she gave back my ring. Maybe she was right. The ranger station is small. Just a bed, a desk, a radio, and shelves full of reports nobody reads. 3 years I've been here, and the longest conversation I've had was with the supply guy who comes once a month. That's how I like it. I can still shoot better than anyone in these parts. Old habits. In the war, I could hit a target 800 yards, away in the snow, in the dark. Some skills you never lose, even when you wish you could. The nightmares are worst in winter. I see the villages burning, hear kids screaming, wake up sweating, even when it's below zero outside. That's why I keep the whiskey in my bottom drawer, just enough to help me sleep, not enough to forget completely. Today is December 13th. 7 years ago exactly, my unit was trapped at Chosin Reservoir. 17,000 of us surrounded by 120,000 Chinese troops. Temperature was 30 below. Men froze to death standing up. We lost so many. I lived, never, Understood why. I was checking my gear for the day's patrol when the radio crackled. Report of a missing family in my area. The Morrisons. Mom, Dad, 2 kids. Didn't check out of their campsite. Car still there. I grabbed my pack, my rifle, and my flashlight. Something told me to take extra batteries. And matches. Lots of matches. The forest was waiting. Quiet. Still hungry. I should have called for backup. Should have waited. But I didn't know then what was watching from between the trees. Didn't know it had been waiting for someone like me. Someone carrying enough guilt to feed it for years. I found the Morrison family's campsite around noon. What was left of it anyway? Their tents were torn to shreds. Not from the outside in, like a bear attack. From the inside out, like they were trying to claw their way out of something. Fast. Their blue station wagon sat in the clearing. Engine still running, eating up the last of the gas. All 4 doors wide open. Jackets and a purse still inside. Nobody leaves their purse behind, unless they're running for their lives. I found blood in the snow. Not much, but enough to worry me. It made a trail heading north into the thick trees. I followed it for about 50 yards. Then it just stopped. Not like someone bandaged a wound. It stopped in the middle of a clear patch of snow. Like whoever was bleeding vanished into thin air. The kid stuff got to me the most. A little truck, a doll with yellow hair, all arranged in a perfect circle around the campfire. No kid lines up toys that neatly. And the fire, it was still burning. No wood, no fuel. Just flames coming up. From the bare ground I tried to put it out with snow. It hissed and kept burning. Behind the biggest tent I found bones. Human bones, picked clean but still fresh. The marrow inside was still pink. I've seen enough death to know they couldn't be more than a day old. But the snow covering them looked like it had been there for hours. The trees around the camp had carvings in them, symbols I'd never seen before. They looked newly cut, the wood still wet, but the bark around them was weathered like they'd been there for decades. My radio went crazy when I tried to call for help. Instead of static, I heard voices. My voice, talking backwards, saying things I never said, calling for help, screaming. That's when I saw the footprints. They started right where the blood trail ended. 14 inches long, at least. 6 toes on each foot. Too big for a man. Too shaped like a human foot to be anything else. I followed them for about a mile. They led to a small cave near Beaver Creek. I wouldn't have gone in, but I heard something. Singing a child's voice. Inside, huddled against the far wall, was a little girl, 8 or 9 years old, wearing pink pajamas under her coat. Her hair was tangled with leaves and twigs. Her eyes were too wide, too knowing. "Are you Jenny Morrison?" I asked her. She didn't answer directly, just sang in a sing-song voice. "Round and round the forest deep. Hungry man makes people sleep. Takes them in and wears their skin. Never lets them out again." I tried again. "Jenny, I'm Ranger Frank. I'm here to help you. Where's your mum and dad?" She stopped singing and looked right through me. They went inside, the hungry man who walks backwards. He ate them up, but keeps them talking. They're still screaming in his belly. I got her to come out of the cave, wrapped her in my jacket, tried to get more information, but she would only speak in those creepy rhymes. I needed to get her back to my truck, back to safety. We were halfway there when Jenny froze. Her little hand gripped mine so tight it hurt. "He's watching," she whispered, "the hungry man. He wants you now. He's always wanted you." I looked where she was pointing, between 2 distant pines. At first, I thought it was just a shadow. Then it moved, and I saw it for the first time. It stood between the trees, too tall to be a man. 7, maybe 8 feet high. From far away, it looked almost human-shaped, but wrong, all wrong. "Don't look at its eyes," Jenny whispered. "That's how it takes you." I pulled Jenny behind me and reached for my rifle. The figure didn't move at first, just watched us. The distance between us was maybe 100 yards, but I could feel it staring right at me. Then it took a step. Its legs bent backwards, like a deer's hind legs, but too long. Its arms hung down past its knees. Everything about it was stretched out, like someone had pulled all its parts too far. "We need to move," I told Jenny. "Stay behind me." We backed away slowly. The thing matched our pace exactly, getting no closer but never falling behind, just watching. Then it spoke. Frank. The voice was my father's. Exactly his voice, with that little catch in it he always had after working in the mine all day. "Frank, son, help me." I hadn't heard that voice in 15 years. Not since I found him in the barn after the bank took our house. "That's not your daddy," Jenny said. "It wears voices like coats." The thing moved again, faster this time. 1 second it was 100 yards away. The next it was 50. It didn't run. It just ... was closer suddenly. I could see its face now, or what should have been a face. It kept shifting, melting from one person to another. I saw a woman with blonde hair, probably Jenny's mom. Then an older man. Then a young boy. "Frankie, why'd you leave us at Chosen?" This time it was Bobby Erickson's voice. My buddy who froze to death while I was carrying him back to camp. I raised my rifle and fired. Silver bullets, the only kind I had with me that day. The shot hit it square in the chest, but it passed right through. Like shooting smoke, the air around it began to warp. The trees behind it looked upside down. Snow started falling up instead of down. My head hurt trying to make sense of what I was seeing. "Run," I told Jenny, and we did. The cold hit us like a wall. It had been chilly all day, but suddenly I couldn't feel my fingers. My breath froze in front of my face. Jenny's lips turned blue in seconds. "It makes the cold," she said through chattering teeth. "It's hungry for warmth." We ran until my lungs burned, but every time I looked back, it was the same distance behind us, never gaining, never falling back, just following with that wrong way walk. We reached a clearing, and I saw the Morrison's second child, a boy, about 6, standing in the middle of the snow. Relief washed over me until Jenny screamed, "That's not Tommy. Tommy's inside the hungry man." The boy smiled, and his face split open like a rotten fruit. Behind the skin was nothing, just empty darkness. I grabbed Jenny and changed direction, heading for the old Lakota grounds. The thing was ahead of us now, though we'd never passed it. Standing there, waiting, its eyes locked on mine, and for a second, I felt myself falling forward, like it was pulling something out of me through my eyes. My vision tunneled, and I saw all the faces of the dead, everyone I couldn't save. Jenny tugged hard on my hand. "Don't look. It eats the light from inside you." I turned away just in time. My legs gave out, and I dropped to my knees in the snow. Cold sweat covered my body despite the freezing air. "It knows you," Jenny said quietly. "It's been waiting for you for a long time." "How do you know all this?" I asked her, my voice shaking. "I can see its real face," she said. "The hungry face behind all the other faces. It's been here forever, waiting." Grandma said, "It's a Wendigo. It eats more than bodies. It eats souls." The thing, the Wendigo, circled us now, too fast to track. Just flashes between trees, first here, then there, getting closer with each pass. I had to get us out of these woods before dark, but I was starting to think the Wendigo wouldn't let that happen. It wanted something from me, something specific, and deep down, I was afraid. I knew exactly what that was. The sun was getting low. We had maybe an hour of daylight left. I knew we wouldn't make it to my truck before dark. "It's playing with us," I told Jenny, "like a cat with a mouse." Jenny nodded. "It feeds on the scared feeling. Gets stronger when you remember bad things." That's when it clicked. Every time the Wendigo spoke, it used voices from my past, people I'd failed, people whose deaths I blamed myself for. "My guilt," I whispered. "It's feeding on my guilt." The forest around us began to change. The pine trees faded away, replaced by snowy mountains. The air grew colder, much colder. Suddenly, we weren't in South Dakota anymore. "No," I gasped. "This isn't real," but it felt real. The Korean mountains, Chosen Reservoir, December 1950. I could hear gunfire in the distance, screams of dying men. "It's showing you the bad place," Jenny said, her small hand gripping mine tightly. "The place you can't forget." All around us, soldiers appeared, some whole, some missing, parts all dead, all looking at me with accusing eyes. "You lived," they said in unison. "Why did you live when we died?" The Wendigo stood among them, taller than before. Its face kept changing rapidly, now showing me every person who died while I survived. My father, my war buddies, the Korean family caught in artillery fire. I fell to my knees, the weight of all that guilt crushing me. This was what it wanted, to drown me in my own memories until I gave up. "Frank," Jenny shook my arm. "It's not real. It's trying to trap you here." But it felt real. The cold, the faces, the pain. Jenny's voice seemed far away now. "Look for the way out. I can see it, but you can't." I forced myself to focus on her. "What do you see?" "Doors," she said, "all around us. But you can't see them, because you're a grown-up. Grown-ups get stuck in the past." I reached into my pocket and felt my father's silver watch, the one thing that connected me to both past and present. I pulled it out, feeling its weight in my palm. "This is now," I told myself. "The watch is real. Jenny is real. The rest is just memory." The world flickered Korea, then Black Hills, then Korea again. Jenny pointed to what looked like empty space. "There's a door there. I can see it." I remembered something the old Lakota man had told me when I first started as a ranger, about spirits that feed on pain, about sacred fire that cleanses. I reached for my matches with shaking hands, dropped the first one in the snow. The second wouldn't light in the wind. The Wendigo was closing in, moving in that impossible way. Here, then there, then closer. "Frank," it said, now using my voice, "give up. Join us. It hurts less when you stop fighting." I got the third match lit, cupped my hand around the small flame. "What are you burning?" Jenny asked. I pulled out the folded paper I'd carried for 15 years. My father's suicide note, the physical reminder of my first failure to save someone. "My guilt," I said, and touched the flame to the paper. It caught immediately, burning far brighter than it should. The Wendigo screamed not with one voice, but with dozens, all the voices it had stolen. The paper burned in my hand, but I felt no pain, just warmth spreading up my arm. "The door," Jenny shouted. "It's getting brighter." I still couldn't see it, but I let her pull me forward. The Wendigo moved to block our path, its form shifting wildly now, melting, reforming, desperate, reached for me with two long fingers. I held up the burning note like a shield. "You don't own my guilt anymore," I told it. "You don't own me." The fire jumped from the paper to the creature's outstretched hand. It tried to pull back, but the flame caught, racing up its arm. The Wendigo burned with silver-blue flames. As it burned, faces emerged from its body, all the souls it had taken. The Morrison parents, the other campers, dozens more. The world around us shattered like glass. Korea disappeared. We were back in the Black Hills, standing in a clearing. The Wendigo was gone, just ashes on the snow. But something broke in me when the creature burned. Something in my mind gave way. I got Jenny back to safety. The rangers found us at the edge of the forest. They took her to her grandparents in Rapid City. They took me somewhere else, a place with white walls and soft voices. The doctors say I have severe delusional disorder, that there was no Wendigo, that Jenny Morrison was found alone, her family killed in a bear attack. Maybe they're right. Maybe the war and the guilt finally broke something in my mind that can't be fixed. But Jenny visits sometimes. She's the only visitor I get. 16 now, normal, except for the nightmares she still has. "It's not gone," she told me last week. "Just sleeping, waiting for someone new with enough guilt to feed it." She has a little boy now, 3 years old. He draws pictures of a tall man with backwards legs. I keep my father's silver watch with me. They let me have that much. I wind it every day, though it hasn't kept proper time since that night in the forest. Sometimes, when I look at it from the corner of my eye, I swear I can see faces in the silver, watching, waiting, hungry. My name is Theodore Washington, but everyone calls me Teddy. I've been a park ranger here at the Great Dismal Swamp for nearly 5 years now. Some folks wonder why anyone would choose to work in a place with dismal right in its name. But this swamp has been in my blood for generations. The first thing you'd notice about Blackwater Marsh is how the water sits completely still, like black glass. It perfectly mirrors the ancient cypress trees above, their branches draped with long, grey Spanish moss that hangs like old men's beards. Sometimes, when there's no breeze, I can't tell where the real world ends and the reflection begins. If you stand quiet enough, you'll hear the strangest sounds. Little bubbles of swamp gas pop as they rise up from the mucky bottom. Pop ... pop ... like tiny underwater ghosts trying to talk to you. The sound gets creepy when it's the only thing you hear. The air here is something else. It's so thick with moisture you can almost drink it instead of breathing it. The smell is a mix of rotting plants, mud, and something sweet from all the flowers and pollen. Some days, it's so humid my uniform sticks to my skin like I just went swimming with my clothes on. Now, we've got plenty of alligators in these parts. and you can usually hear them bellowing to each other. Lately though, it's been odd. I can hear them calling, but I haven't seen a single one in their usual sunning spots. It's like they're hiding from something. The strangest thing in this swamp has to be the lights. Old-timers call them willow-wisps, these small blue-green flames that dance above the water at night. Science says it's just swamp gas igniting, but I've seen these lights move like they have a mind of their own, leading people deeper into the marsh. My grandmother had other explanations. Not many folks know this, but beneath parts of this swamp lies an old slave burial ground. Water levels have risen over the years, covering the graves. I sometimes wonder if those poor souls are truly at rest. When the moon is full and fog rolls in, it creates the most unsettling sight. The moonlight filters through the mist, making shapes that seem to move on their own. More than once, I've drawn my flashlight thinking I saw a person, only to find nothing there. The temperature in this place defies explanation for the past week. It's been holding steady at exactly 98.6 degrees, the same as human body temperature. It doesn't drop at night like it should. Even the old-timers say they've never seen anything like it. My compass has been acting strange too. Near the center of the marsh, the needle just spins and spins, like it's confused. It points toward something, but I can't figure out what's causing it. There's no iron deposits or anything that should throw it off like that. But the thing that's really got me worried is the bugs, or rather, the lack of them. This is prime mosquito season in a perfect breeding ground, but I haven't slapped at a single one in days. No dragonflies, no water striders, nothing. In a swamp, that's not just unusual, it's impossible. Something's wrong in Blackwater Marsh. I can feel it in my bones. The same way my grandmother said she could feel storms coming, and whatever it is, I've got a bad feeling it's just getting started. I wasn't always a park ranger. Growing up black in a small town just outside this swamp wasn't easy. Our community was separated from the white folks by train tracks and unwritten rules about where we could go and what we could do. I'm the first black ranger they ever hired in this park, and some days I can feel the weight of that responsibility pressing down on me like the humid air. Back in my 20s, I didn't spend my time tracking animal prints or checking water levels. I was riding buses across the South, fighting for the right to be treated like a human being. They called us Freedom Riders. We'd sit at whites-only lunch counters and ride in the front of buses, knowing we might not make it home that night. During the Montgomery bus boycotts, a group of white men pulled me and my friends from a bus. They beat us with pipes and baseball bats. I still have a scar above my right eye where a ring caught my skin. I was one of the lucky ones. I survived. My best friend Marcus wasn't so lucky. After we helped register black voters in our county, the Klan came for him. They found him, took him, and I can't bring myself to say the details even now. They hung him from a cypress tree deep in this very swamp. Today marks 5 years since I lost him. I should have been with him that night. I was supposed to meet him, but I got held up. By the time I got to our meeting spot, he was already gone. Not a day goes by that I don't wonder if I could have saved him if I'd been on time. My connection to this swamp goes back generations. My grandmother escaped slavery during the Civil War and hid right here among these cypress trees and murky waters. She knew every safe path, every hiding spot. She passed those secrets down to my mother, who passed them to me. I can navigate parts of this swamp that aren't even on any map. Working here isn't always easy. Some of the other rangers don't bother hiding how they feel about working alongside me. The federal government may have ordered integration, but you can't order people to change their hearts. I've heard the whispers. I've seen the looks. After the third death threat was slipped under my door, I started keeping a loaded shotgun at the ranger station. Not for the animals, for the two-legged predators. My boss knows about it, but looks the other way. Even he understands some dangers aren't covered in the ranger handbook. My wife Marie doesn't like me working here. She went to college up north, came back with a teaching degree and big ideas about moving to Chicago or New York. Somewhere, our kids, if we have them, won't have to face what we did. We've been fighting about it more and more. She says I'm holding on to ghosts. Maybe she's right. Today of all days, those ghosts feel closer than ever. I woke up before dawn, knowing I needed to come to the spot where they found Marcus. I do this every year, but this time something feels different. The swamp itself seems to be holding its breath, waiting. As I step into my patrol boat, I check my watch. It's early yet, but I have miles of waterway to cover before I reach the center of the marsh. I touch the photo of Marcus I keep in my pocket and push off from the dock. The flat bottom of the boat sliding silently into the black water. The mist hangs low over the swamp this morning. Through it, I swear I can hear someone calling my name. The morning fog was just starting to lift when I found the first boat. It was flipped upside down, bobbing gently against a fallen tree. At first, I thought someone had just lost control in bad weather, but when I pulled alongside, my blood ran cold. 5 deep gashes cut through the fiberglass hull, each one as wide as my hand. Whatever had done this wasn't a regular swamp creature. I've seen alligator damage, and this wasn't it. These marks looked like they came from something with claws, something big. I called it in on my radio and kept patrolling. About 2 miles further, I found old Jim Watkins. Jim had been fishing these waters for 60 years, knew the swamp almost as well as I did. Now he was just floating face down in the black water. When I pulled him into my boat, I noticed something strange. His skin was gray and paper-thin, like all the blood had been drained out. But there wasn't a single cut or bite mark anywhere on him. The county doctor would later say he died of a heart attack, but I know better. Jim was healthy as a horse, and something had scared him to death. As I headed deeper into the marsh, I heard it for the first time, a sound that made the hairs on my neck stand straight up. It was like a wolf's howl mixed with a human scream, echoing across the water. I've heard every animal in this swamp, and nothing makes a sound like that. Near the center of the marsh, the trees started looking wrong. The cypress trunks were twisted into spiral shapes, like giant hands had wrung them like wet towels. Some were bent into perfect circles, their branches pointing inward. No storm could do that, no natural force I know of. The fish were acting strange too, hundreds of them floating belly up, but not scattered like in a normal fish kill. They formed perfect circles on the water's surface, like they were arranged that way on purpose. I took water samples to check for pollution, but somehow I knew that wasn't the cause. I brought Rex, my tracking dog, out the next day. He's never been afraid of anything, not alligators, not snakes, nothing. But when I tried to take him to where I found the twisted trees, he dug his paws in and refused to move. His ears went flat against his head, and he made a whimpering sound I'd never heard before. When I tried to drag him forward, he bit at his own leash, trying to escape. That's when I found the footprints. They were pressed deep into the mud at the water's edge, 3 feet long with 5 toes, but webbed like a frog's. At the end of each toe was a curved mark where a claw had dug in. Whatever made these prints walked on 2 legs and weighed hundreds of pounds. 3 days into my investigation, I found something that still gives me nightmares. Deep in a part of the swamp, where nobody goes, there was a shelter built between 3 cypress trees, but this wasn't made from branches or leaves. The frame was human bones, dozens of them tied together with braided Spanish moss. Inside, the ground was dry and recently used. The water itself was changing. When I dipped my thermometer in, it read 105 degrees, hot enough to poach fish. But there are no hot springs in this swamp, no underwater vents, nothing that could heat the water like that. My last discovery was the worst. I was checking a report of gunshots when I found Billy Crothers, a local poacher, clinging to a tree branch, half in the water. His leg was torn open, and he was babbling with fear. "It took Joe," he kept saying. "The swamp devil took Joe right out of the boat." I got Billy to my boat and gave him first aid. His leg would need stitches, but he'd live. As I wrapped his wound, he grabbed my arm with surprising strength. "It weren't no animal," he whispered. "It knew our names." Called Joe right to it, using his mama's voice. Then it changed. Started looking like a man, but not a man. Billy's eyes were wide with terror. "It's still out there, watching us right now." I looked around at the still water, the hanging moss, the twisted trees. For the first time since I was a child, I felt afraid of the swamp. And I could have sworn that somewhere, just out of sight, something was watching me. "Ranger Washington," Billy said, his voice shaking. It was at the same spot. The same damn cypress where they hung your friend. A chill ran through me that had nothing to do with the temperature. Whatever was happening in Blackwater Marsh, it was connected to Marcus. And somehow, I knew it was waiting for me. After getting Billy to the hospital, I went back to the swamp alone. I know that sounds crazy, but I had to know what was out there. I took my shotgun, extra shells, a powerful flashlight, and my radio. I told myself I was just doing my job. but deep down, I was looking for answers about Marcus. The sun was setting as I reached the spot where Billy had seen the swamp devil. The cypress trees cast long shadows over the black water. Everything was quiet to quiet. Even the wind seemed to have stopped. That's when I saw it. At first I thought it was just another shadow or a trick of the fading light, but then it moved. Standing in water up to its waist was the tallest creature I'd ever seen. It had to be at least 8 feet tall. Its body was covered in dark, matted fur mixed with hanging swamp plants and algae. In the dying light, I could see its eyes yellow-green and glowing like a cat's, but as big as golf balls. I raised my shotgun, but something strange happened. The creature slid through the water toward me, but it didn't make a single ripple. It was like it wasn't really there, or like it was part of the water itself. My hands started shaking. This wasn't right. This wasn't natural. I fired twice, hitting it square in the chest. Chunks of its body flew off, splashing into the water. Any normal animal would have dropped dead, but this thing didn't even slow down. Before my eyes, the holes in its chest began to close up. New fur and flesh grew over the wounds in minutes. It was healing itself. The creature let out a roar that hit me like a physical force. The sound was so loud and strange that my ears started ringing, and I couldn't tell which way was which. I stumbled backward, nearly falling into the water. As it got closer, I saw an alligator swimming nearby. The creature just looked at the gator, and suddenly the big reptile turned and came straight for me. I've never seen an alligator move so fast or with such purpose. It was like the monster was controlling it, not just the gator, either. Vines started moving on their own, reaching for my ankles. Water moccasins slithered toward my boat from all directions. The whole swamp seemed to be working together, trying to trap me. The thing reached out one long arm. Its hand had fingers like a human's, but longer, with black claws at the tips. I jumped back just in time. Billy's words came back to me, his friend Joe being touched by the creature. I remembered Jim Watkins' body, drained and empty. I knew I couldn't let it touch me. The strangest part was how it could disappear. 1 second it was right in front of me, and the next it seemed to melt into the background, becoming part of the trees, the water, the shadows. If I hadn't been watching closely, I would have thought it vanished into thin air. During the chase, I noticed something important. The creature seemed stronger in certain spots, Cecily, places where bad things had happened. When we passed the old slave burial ground, it moved faster. When we got near places where people had died violently, it seemed to grow bigger. Billy's words haunted me. The same damn cypress where they hung your friend. The creature was leading me there, I realized. It wanted me at that spot. When we finally reached that terrible triathlon where I'd found Marcus, the monster stopped. It rose to its full height, water streaming off its massive body. Then it did something I'll never forget as long as I live. It spoke. "Teddy," it said, in a voice that made my blood freeze. It wasn't the monster's voice. It was Marcus's voice, exactly as I remembered it. "You left me to die, Teddy," it said. "You were supposed to be there. You were supposed to help me." The thing's face started to change, melting and reshaping until I was staring at a twisted version of my best friend's face. "You abandoned us," it said. But now the voice was different, older, like many people talking at once. "You left the fight. You hid in your safe ranger job while your people still suffer." I stood there, my shotgun useless at my side, as the truth hit me harder than any physical blow. This wasn't just some swamp monster. This was something born from pain and rage from centuries of suffering in this place, and somehow it knew my deepest shame, my greatest fear, that I had failed Marcus, failed my people, failed myself. The creature reached for me again, and this time I was too stunned to move. The creature's hand was inches from my face when a memory flashed in my mind, my grandmother sitting on our porch, telling me stories about the swamp. "The marsh remembers," she'd said. "It holds on to pain and hate, like mud holds footprints." Suddenly, I understood. This thing wasn't just a monster, it was made from all the anger, all the suffering, all the injustice that had happened in this swamp over hundreds of years. The lynchings, the runaway slaves hunted down, the bodies hidden where no one would find them. All that pain had come together, feeding on itself, growing stronger with each act of hatred, and it was using Marcus to get to me. "You're not Marcus," I said, finding my voice. Marcus would never blame me. He knew what we were fighting for, what we risked, The creature screamed a sound of pure rage, and the whole swamp seemed to come alive around us. The water beneath my boat began to bubble and churn. The solid ground near the shore turned to quicksand before my eyes. Tree branches swung down, like arms trying to grab me. Then the worst part began. The air around me shimmered, and suddenly I wasn't in the present anymore. I was 5 years ago, watching as a group of hooded men dragged Marcus toward the cypress tree. I could see everything, hear everything. I tried to run to him, to help him, but I couldn't move. I was forced to watch it all happen again, helpless. To stop it, "This is what you missed," the creature hissed, now speaking with many voices at once. "This is what happened while you were late." Tears streamed down my face as I watched my friend die again. But something wasn't right about what I was seeing. The creature was twisting the memory, making it worse, feeding off my guilt and pain. That's when I realized it needed my pain. It fed on hatred and fear and guilt. The more I felt, the stronger it got. My grandmother had taught me more than just how to navigate the swamp. She'd taught me old songs the slaves sang, for courage, for hope, for freedom, songs that had power. I began to sing, my voice shaking at first, then growing stronger. "Wade in the water, wade in the water, children. Wade in the water, God's gonna trouble the water." The creature flinched. The vision of Marcus flickered like a bad TV signal. I kept singing, remembering all the songs my grandmother had taught me. Songs of hope in the darkest times. Songs that had carried my people through centuries of pain. The creature roared and lunged at me, but I didn't stop singing. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the small bottle of water. I always carried water that had been blessed by Reverend Johnson at our church, mixed with herbs my grandmother had said were sacred to our ancestors in Africa. I unscrewed the cap and flung the water at the monster. Where the drops hit, its skin sizzled and smoked. It screamed again, backing away. "This place doesn't belong to hate anymore," I shouted. "These waters should be clean again." For a moment, I saw doubt in those glowing eyes, then rage. The creature dove beneath the surface, and the water around my boat began to spin like a whirlpool. I held on to the sides as it tipped dangerously. My boat hit something hard, the base of the cypress tree where Marcus had died. I grabbed a low-hanging branch to steady myself. That's when I noticed something gleaming in the Barker chain, the same chain they had used on Marcus, still embedded in the tree after all these years. My grandmother's voice seemed to whisper in my ear, "Iron binds more than flesh, child. It binds spirits too." I understood what I had to do. I reached for the chain, yanking it free from the tree bark. It was heavy in my hands, still carrying the terrible purpose it had been used for. But chains could be repurposed. Freedom could come from the tools of bondage. I dipped the chain into what was left of the blessed water and began to speak the words my grandmother had taught me, part prayer, part spell. Words passed down from people who had found power even when everything was taken from them. The creature burst from the water directly in front of me, more enraged than ever. But now I could see something else in its eyes. "Fear. You are bound by hatred," I said. "Let me set you free." I lunged forward, wrapping the blessed chain around the creature's neck. It thrashed wildly, its claws raking across my chest. The pain was terrible, but I held on. The creature dragged me off the boat and into the water. We sank together, down into the blackness. My lungs burned for air, but I didn't let go of the chain. If this was what it took to free Marcus, to free all the trapped souls, then so be it. As we sank deeper, I felt other presences around us in the water, generations of the lost and the wronged, watching, waiting. The creature's struggles grew weaker. The chain glowed faintly in the dark water, and I could feel the thing beginning to change. Its body was dissolving, breaking apart, not like flesh, but like shadows touched by light. The fur, the claws, the terrible face, all melting away, until there was nothing in my arms but murky water. My vision started to go dark as my lungs screamed for air. I had no strength left to swim to the surface. As consciousness slipped away, I felt hands on me, not the creature's claws, but human hands, gentle and strong, pulling me upward. My last thought was of Marcus, and I could have sworn I heard him say, "It's all right now, Teddy. You did good. We're free." They found my boat the next morning, empty except for my ranger hat. The search team looked for 3 days before they gave up. Most folks think I drowned, but there was no body to bury. Strange things have happened in Blackwater Marsh since then. The water's clean, now cleaner than it's been in living memory. Fish and wildlife have returned. The twisted, Trees have straightened themselves. Even the willow-wisps that used to lead people astray now seem to guide lost hikers to safety. And sometimes, on misty nights, when the moon is full, people report seeing a tall black man in a ranger uniform walking along the water's edge. He never speaks, but those who've seen him say they weren't afraid. They say he led them out of the swamp when they were lost, vanishing once they reached safe ground. The locals have a new name for him, the Guardian of Blackwater Marsh. Marie still visits sometimes, leaving flowers at the water's edge. She doesn't cry anymore. She says she can feel me watching over her, and she's right. I'm still here, still patrolling my swamp, but now I protect it from a different side, making sure the hatred that once poisoned these waters never takes root again. In death, I found the purpose I struggled with in life. The marsh remembers, not just the pain now, but the healing too. And every so often, when a child wanders too far from their parents, or an old fisherman stays out past sunset, they might hear my voice on the wind, guiding them home, keeping them safe from the darkness that once ruled Blackwater Marsh. My name is Diana Mitchell. I've been a park ranger here in Monongahela National Forest for just over 2 years now. Most days, I patrol these West Virginia mountains alone, and that's exactly how I like it. Today feels different though. As I step out of my cabin, a wall of dense fog greets me, so thick I can barely see 20 feet ahead. The world is muffled, like someone threw a heavy blanket over the forest. My boots crunch on the path, but the sound seems to die in the air around me. I follow the familiar trail through what we rangers call the Howling Ridge. It's not on any official map, but the locals have their reasons for naming it that. The wind has a way of moving through these trees that sounds almost human. Today, it's whispering and moaning through the bare branches overhead, making the hairs on my neck stand up. The forest feels wrong this morning. Usually, these woods are alive with deer rustling through underbrush, rabbits darting across paths, birds calling from the trees, but there's nothing today. No movement, no chirping, not even insects buzzing. Just that unnatural silence broken only by the wind's hollow cries. I push through a maze of rhododendron thickets. They grow so dense here that there's no clear path, creating a natural labyrinth that's easy to get lost in. The mountain laurel is blooming early this year, their pink and white flowers filling the air with a sickly sweet smell. I notice something odd. The blossoms are covered with flies, more than I've ever seen before. My head pounds suddenly, a sharp pain behind my eyes. The barometer on my watch shows pressure dropping fast, which makes no sense. The weather report promised clear skies all week. Something isn't right. The trail takes me past the old coal mine entrance. It's been sealed since 1951 after some terrible accident the locals don't like talking about. The rusted barriers look different today. Fresh scratches mark the metal, as if something tried clawing its way in or out. Around the entrance, abandoned mining equipment sits frozen in time. Old carts, picks, and shovels left exactly where workers dropped them decades ago, but they look different today, covered in a strange glowing moss I've never seen before. The pale green light it gives off feels unnatural in the fog. I crouch down by the creek that runs past the mine. The water runs red, stained by iron from the mountains. In this light, with the fog swirling above it, it looks exactly like blood flowing downhill. I shiver despite myself. My radio crackles to life, making me jump. Through the static, I hear what sounds like voices, fragments of conversation too distorted to make out. I check the frequency, but it's the correct channel. Nobody should be broadcasting right now. Ranger station, this is Mitchell. Anyone transmitting, I ask. Nothing but that strange static comes back. I clip the radio to my belt, trying to ignore how it continues to whisper, almost like it's speaking words just beyond my understanding. Something's very wrong on Howling Ridge today, and I've got a sinking feeling I'm about to find out what. Most people come to these woods to escape something. For me, it was the memories of Vietnam. 3 years ago, I was a nurse in Saigon, working in field hospitals during the worst of the fighting. I still see their faces at night, young boys, barely men, dying in my arms while I tried to save them with bandages and morphine and words that meant nothing. I checked my medical kit for the 3rd time today, counting bandages and antiseptic. Wipes 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a habit I can't break. In Vietnam, running out of supplies meant someone died. Even now, Far from any war, I need to know I'm prepared. My fingers brush against the orange pill bottle hidden at the bottom of the kit. The pain meds were for the shrapnel wound in my shoulder from the rocket attack during the Tet Offensive. That was the night we lost 6 nurses, all under my watch. All my friends. Today marks exactly 7 years since that happened. The pills were supposed to be temporary. Nothing is temporary in war though. Some wounds don't heal, even when you can't see them anymore. I chose this job because trees don't scream, mountains don't bleed. The forest doesn't remind me of my little brother Tommy, who never came home from his first tour. Out here, I don't have to explain to my parents why I jump at loud noises or why I can't sleep more than 2 hours without waking up drenched in sweat. They tried to understand, but how could they? You were just a nurse. My father said once, like that meant I was safely tucked away from the real war. He never understood that I saw the war distilled to its purest form, broken bodies and pain and death that came no matter how hard I worked. The fog seems to grow thicker as I walk deeper into the forest. My boots sink into the soft ground, each step requiring more effort than it should. My head still pounds with the pressure drop, making it hard to focus. I learned wilderness survival during my military training. Those skills are what make me good at this job. I can track animals, navigate without a compass, treat injuries with whatever's available. In the field hospital, we got good at improvising when supplies ran out. But none of my training prepared me for the emptiness of this forest today. No tracks on the ground, no birds overhead. Nature has its rhythms and patterns. When those patterns break, something is deeply wrong. I swallow hard and check my watch. I'm supposed to sweep the campgrounds in the East Hollow by noon. There's a family with kids staying there. The Chuns, I think. Father, mother, 2 kids. City folks, up from Washington, D.C. for the weekend. A memory flashes in my mind, a young Vietnamese boy on my operating table, his eyes fixed on mine as the light left them. He looked so much like Tommy. That was my last patient. The one I couldn't save. The one that made me walk away from nursing, forever. I push the memory down and adjust my ranger hat. The wind picks up, sending whispers through the trees that sound almost like my name. My radio crackles again with those strange half-formed voices. Something is calling me deeper into the forest, and despite everything in me screaming to turn back, I keep walking toward whatever waits ahead. The campsite comes into view through the fog, and immediately I know something is wrong. Too quiet. No morning sounds of a family making breakfast or packing gear. No smoke from last night's fire. Just stillness. Hello, Ranger Mitchell here. Everything okay this morning? My voice sounds small in the fog. No answer. I approach slowly, one hand on my radio, the other near the bear spray on my belt. The tents are still zipped up. A pot of water sits on the cold fire pit. A child's stuffed bear lies face down in the dirt. Mr. Chen, Mrs. Chen, is anyone here? The first tent is where I find them. My training kicks in before my brain can process what I'm seeing. I drop to my knees beside the sleeping bags, checking for pulses. I already know I won't find. The family of 4 lies in their sleeping bags, but they don't look right. Their skin is pulled tight against their bones, like all the moisture has been sucked out. They look mummified, but that's impossible. I spoke with Mr. Chen just yesterday afternoon. Their faces are frozen in expressions of terror. No blood anywhere. No signs of struggle. Just 4 bodies that look like they've been dead for months, not hours. I force myself to look closer, the nurse in me taking over. There, on each neck, the same strange mark. Tiny puncture wounds, smaller than any animal bite I've ever seen. Too precise to be an attack. Too deliberate. My headache pounds harder. The radio at my belt erupts in static and whispers. I grab it. Emergency at East Hollow Campground. For casualties. Requesting immediate backup and medical examiner. My voice is steady, even as my hands shake. Only static answers. I take photos with my Polaroid camera. When the pictures develop, I nearly drop them. Dark shadows hover over each body. Shadows that weren't visible to my eyes. Shapes that look almost like large cats, but wrong somehow. My medical equipment acts strange too. The thermometer shows the bodies are 10 degrees colder than the air around them. My compass spins wildly near the tent. Something about this site is throwing off electromagnetic readings. I step outside the tent, gulping fresh air. That's when I notice the trail. Small, dried-up animal carcasses leading away from the campsite. A squirrel, 2 rabbits, a raccoon, all shriveled like the family, all pointing toward the old mine entrance. Around the campsite, the family's belongings are arranged in strange patterns, backpacks and cooking utensils laid out in what looks like a giant circle, with hiking boots pointing inward. I didn't notice this at first, but it's clearly deliberate. No animal did this. I'm about to radio again when I hear it, a soft whimpering from the direction of the creek. I follow the sound to a small cave formed by fallen rocks. Hello? Is someone there? I'm here to help. Huddled in the back, arms wrapped around his knees, is a boy about 12 years old. Asian features, torn pajamas, eyes wide with terror. He doesn't respond when I call to him. It's the Chen family's son, Tommy. The name hits me like a punch. Tommy, just like my brother. I approach slowly, hands open. Tommy, I'm Diana. I'm a park ranger. You're safe now. His eyes focus on me, but he doesn't speak. When I reach out, he flinches away, then grabs a stick and begins drawing frantically in the dirt. What he draws turns my blood cold. Cat-like creatures, with impossibly long fangs, 3 of them, hunting together. And from there, mouths to their prey, he draws lines that look like they're pulling something out of the victims. Tommy looks up at me, finally speaking in a whisper, so quiet I nearly miss it. Shadow cats, he says. They drink more than blood. I reach for my radio again, but before I can call for help, a sound echoes through the fog. A sound no natural animal should make. Part growl, part scream, entirely wrong, and it's coming from right behind me. I spin around, pulling Tommy behind me. In one quick motion, there, at the edge of the clearing, stands something that shouldn't exist. It looks like a panther, but wrong in ways I can't fully explain. Its body is sleek and black, but moves like oil flowing over rocks. Too fluid, too silent. Its eyes glow yellow in the fog, fixed directly on us. But it's the teeth that make my heart stop fangs to long for any natural cat. Curved like needles and dripping with something that sizzles when it hits the ground. I've tracked mountain lions before. I know how they move, how they hunt. This is different. This thing leaves no tracks in the soft mud. It makes no sound as it steps forward, testing the air with a flick of its tongue. Stay behind me, Tommy, I whisper, reaching slowly for my bear spray. Don't run. It will chase you if you run. The creature tilts its head, almost like it understands my words. Then it does something impossible. It smiles. A high-pitched sound cuts through the air, making my ears pop painfully. Tommy clamps his hands over his ears, whimpering. The sound isn't just noise. It makes the world spin around me, like my balance is gone. I stumble, fighting to stay upright. That's when I see the others. 2 more shapes moving through the fog, flanking us. 3 total, just like in Tommy's drawing. They're coordinating, cutting off our escape routes one by one, moving like soldiers. Like a tactical unit I once saw in Vietnam. I grab Tommy's hand, and we back slowly toward the creek. My mind races through options, through everything I know about predators, but nothing in my training covered creatures that hunt like this. When I say run, head straight for the water, I tell Tommy. Animals often won't follow through water. It's a slim chance, but it's all we have. The lead creature pounces, faster than my eyes can track. I spray directly at its face, the cloud of chemicals catching it mid-lip. It shrieks, a sound that splits my head with pain, and crashes into the dirt. Run. We splash into the creek, the iron-red water soaking us instantly. The cold shocks my system, clearing my head for a moment. Tommy stumbles on the slippery rocks, and I half drag him toward the far bank. Behind us, the creature is already recovering, shaking off the spray that would have stopped a bear in its tracks. Its companions circle the creek, moving with that same unnatural fluidity, testing, probing for weakness, hunting like nothing I've ever seen. They came from the mine, Tommy says suddenly, his voice hollow, after the ground shook. The earthquake last week, small by most standards, but it damaged several trails. My dad, ... He went to look. He said there was something moving inside. Tommy's voice breaks. When he came back, he wasn't my dad anymore. His eyes were different. We reached the far bank, scrambling up the muddy slope. The mine entrance looms ahead through the fog, its metal barriers twisted and broken. The moss around it glows brighter now, pulsing like a heartbeat. One of the creatures leaps the entire width of the creek, landing silently on our side. Its close enough now that I can see the scars across its face, old burns and cuts that look man-made, like it had been injured by mining equipment. A crazy thought hits me. The mine disaster in '51. Men trapped underground. Official reports said they all died, but the locals always whispered other stories. The creature opens its mouth, revealing those needle-like fangs, but something else happens too. The air around us grows suddenly cold. I feel ... tired, like something is pulling at me from the inside, energy draining away. An older man I treated in Vietnam had described this same feeling. It's how death takes you, he'd said. It pulls your life out slow, so you feel every second of it leaving. The creature inches closer. Its companions join it, forming a half circle around us. They're savoring this, I realize. They want our fear as much as whatever else they take from their victims. I back up against the mine entrance, Tommy pressed against me. My hand finds an old mining pickaxe, rusted but still solid, leaning against the wall. Not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. They can climb anything, Tommy whispers. They move through trees like shadows. They know what you're going to do before you do it. The lead creature crouches, preparing to spring, but before it leaps, it turns its scarred face to look directly into my eyes. In that moment, I swear I see something human in there, something aware and thinking, something that remembers being a man. Inside, I whisper to Tommy, pushing him toward the broken mine entrance. Go. It's a terrible choice, trapped in a mine with these things, or torn apart in the open. But my instincts tell me there's something important in there, something that might explain all of this. We slip through the twisted metal barriers as the creatures lunge. Their claws scrape against rock, just missing us. The darkness of the mine swallows us whole. I have a flashlight, I say, pulling it from my belt. The beam cuts through the blackness, revealing a tunnel that slopes downward. The walls glisten with moisture and that strange glowing moss. They won't come in right away, Tommy says quietly. They like to play with you first, make you scared. How do you know that? I watch them with my family. His voice is flat, empty of emotion. Too much horror for one young mind. We move deeper into the mine, following rusty tracks that once carried coal carts. The air grows colder, heavier with each step. My flashlight catches reflections in the darkness, eyes watching, always just out of clear view. What happened here, Tommy? Did your dad tell you anything else? He said they found something when the ground shook, something the government hid. Tommy points ahead. Down there, the tunnel opens into a larger chamber. My light sweeps across old mining equipment, broken support beams, and then metal drums. Dozens of them, some split open by the earthquake. Warning. Labels, faded, but still visible. Military markings. Oh my God, I whisper. The pieces click together in my mind. The Cold War. Remote locations for chemical weapons storage. Places they could deny existed. They're changing, Tommy says. The shadows. They used to be men. I move closer to one of the leaking drums. My nurse's training recognizes some of the chemical compound names. Experimental stuff. Terrible stuff that never should have been made. A scraping sound echoes from the tunnel behind us. They're coming now. Think, Diana, I mutter to myself. What do I know about these chemicals? What happens when they mix with human tissue? My medical training from the war might be the only thing that can save us now. I grab Tommy's hand and pull him behind a row of intact drums. Stay here. Don't move. I work quickly, using supplies from my medical kit, along with chemicals from the least dangerous-looking containers. In Vietnam, we learned to make do with whatever we had. Sometimes that meant improvising treatments that weren't in any medical textbook. The lead creature enters the chamber, its yellow eyes scanning the darkness. The scarred one, even in this form, I can see how it moves like a soldier, calculating, strategic. They're hunting like we trained in Vietnam. I whisper to myself. They're using my own tactics against me. That's when it hits me. They're not just reading my mind, they're learning from me, pulling out more than just life force, taking knowledge, experiences, fears. I mix the final chemicals into a bottle from my kit. It's a long shot, but if these creatures were once human, and if they've been transformed by these chemicals, then maybe, Tommy, I whisper, I need you to do something very brave. His eyes meet mine, and I see a strength there beyond his years. They don't attack you the same way they attack me. You can get closer because I'm a kid, because you're not afraid like I am. I tell him, fear is what they feed on most. while I create a second mixture, alcohol from my kit, fuel from a mining lamp. Tommy nods in understanding. Like a diversion, he asks, "Smart kid." "Exactly, but you need to be careful. Just get their attention, then run straight back to me." The creatures stalk through the chamber now, all three moving in different directions, boxing us in. The air grows colder with each passing second. Tommy steps out from our hiding place, empty-handed and impossibly small against the darkness of the mine. "Hey," he calls. All three creatures turn toward him, but they hesitate. Just as I thought, they don't register him as a threat or a meal source. Not enough fear. Tommy backs away slowly as they approach, curious rather than aggressive. He's leading them perfectly. When they're positioned just right, I strike the mining lamp against stone, creating a spark that ignites my makeshift napalm. The flame erupts, catching the nearest creature mid-leap. It screams a sound that's horrifyingly human as the fire spreads across its oil-like hide. The other two scatter, momentarily disoriented by their companion's pain. "Now, Tommy," I yell, tossing him the other mixture, the main one, the scarred one. Tommy moves with surprising speed, splashing the liquid directly into the face of the pack leader. For a moment, nothing happens. Then the creature freezes, its body convulsing. I grab Tommy and pull him back as the scarred creature's skin begins to bubble and shift. A terrible transformation happens before our eyes, features elongating, limbs contorting. For just a second, I see a human face emerging from the monster's form. A man's face, twisted in decades of pain. "It's working," I whisper. "The antidote is working." But the other creatures recover quickly. They see their leader changing and attack in fury, no longer calculating but driven by rage. One leaps toward us, moving faster than I can react. I push Tommy aside, taking the full impact as the creature slams into me. Claws tear into my shoulder, reopening my old war wound. The pain is blinding. Through the haze, I see the half-transformed leader struggling with its own body, neither fully beast nor fully human, caught between worlds. I reach for my last option, the flare gun from my ranger belt. As teeth sink into my leg, I aim at the damaged chemical drums and fire. "Tommy, run," I scream. "Get out of the mine now." The flare hits the chemicals, and the explosion is immediate. Fire and toxic smoke billow through the chamber. Support beams, weakened by years of neglect, begin to collapse. I see Tommy hesitate at the tunnel entrance, looking back at me. "Go," I command, using every ounce of authority I can muster. The ceiling starts coming down as the fire spreads to more chemical containers. The creatures shriek and scatter, caught in the flames and falling debris. I try to stand but can't. The bite on my leg has done something to me. I can feel it spreading, cold numbness traveling up from the wound. The chemicals from the creature's saliva mixing with what's already in the air. As the tunnel collapses between us, the last thing I see is Tommy running toward daylight, clutching my medical bag to his chest. The darkness takes me as the mine seals itself once more. My name is Catherine Rodriguez, but everyone calls me Cat. I've been a park ranger at Sawtooth National Forest in Idaho for 3 years now. Before that, I was search and rescue. I saved lives, at least, I used to. This morning started like any other day on patrol. I woke up before dawn in my cabin, made coffee strong enough to wake the dead, and headed out as the first light touched the jagged peaks. Those mountains, they've always reminded me of cathedral spires reaching up to heaven. Today, they looked sharper somehow, like they were trying to tear holes in the clouds. Something felt off right from the start. The alpine lakes I passed were crystal clear as always, but when I looked closely at one, I swear it showed a desert landscape instead of reflecting the pine trees around it. I blinked, and it was normal again. Must be the thin air up here, making my head fuzzy. Speaking of the air at this elevation, around 9,000 feet, it's normal to feel a bit lightheaded. But today, everything seemed dreamlike. Colors too bright, sounds too sharp. I checked the avalanche danger signs out of habit. They all read extreme, which made no sense. The snowpack was stable, the weather perfect. I radioed base to report. The error. Cat to base. We've got incorrect avalanche warnings posted. Over the radio crackled, then silence for 10 seconds before my own voice answered. No error. Danger real. Turn back. But I hadn't said those words. That's when I noticed the lights. Not northern lights, something different. They danced across the daytime sky like colorful ribbons, appearing and disappearing randomly. I've worked mountains for 12 years and never seen anything like it. I pulled out my GPS to mark the location. The screen showed impossible coordinates according to the device. I was in 3 different places at once. I turned it off and on again, same result. "Hello," I shouted into the valley, hoping to hear my familiar echo. Instead, a strange voice called back, "She's coming for you." I felt the hair on my arms stand up. The snow around me started to behave strangely. In one small patch about 10 feet away, snowflakes began falling upward, rising from the ground toward the sky. I rubbed my eyes, but it continued for nearly 5 minutes before stopping. The weather couldn't make up its mind either. 1 minute, bright sunshine had me unzipping my jacket. The next, a mini blizzard forced me to seek shelter under a rocky overhang, then calm again, all within 15 minutes. Above me, at least a dozen golden eagles circled. That's unusual, they're territorial birds that don't typically flock together. They kept circling but never landed, like they were afraid of something on the ground, something that wasn't me. I checked my watch, only 8:30 a.m., and already this was shaping up to be the strangest day I'd had on Perdition Peak. And considering what happened here 3 years ago, that was saying something. Today was the anniversary. 3 years since I lost Jake. 3 years since I caused the avalanche. That took away my fiancé and my future. 3 years of running from what I'd done. I didn't know it yet, but the mountain had plans for me today. And so did something else, something that wasn't supposed to exist. I wasn't always afraid of heights. That's the irony of it all. I used to be one of the best climbers in the Rocky Mountain region, leading search and rescue teams up the most dangerous faces to save stranded hikers and climbers. 217 rescues under my belt. Kept count because each one mattered. Each life pulled back from the edge was a victory. Jake Morrison was my climbing partner and the love of my life. We met on a rescue mission 5 years ago when we were both called to help a family trapped by a sudden storm. He had the most infectious laugh and steady hands that never shook, even on the toughest climbs. He proposed to me on a ledge halfway up Eagle Peak, pulling a ring from his chalk bag with trembling fingers. The only time I ever saw him nervous on a mountain. "We're planning our wedding climb," he told everyone. Instead of walking down an aisle, we would summit Perdition Peak together. It was supposed to be perfect. That day started clear, just like today. We were moving fast up the east face, making good time. I remember feeling impatient. There was a harder route. I wanted to try, a more challenging line that would make our climb more memorable. Jake thought we should stick to our planned route, but I pushed. I always pushed. "Come on, we can handle it," I said, already changing direction. "It'll make a better story to tell our grandkids." He followed me because he trusted me. That trust cost him everything. I missed the warning signs. The snowpack had subtle cracks I should have noticed. The temperature had risen too quickly that morning. Small things that added up to one massive mistake. When the snow began to shift, I had just enough time to yell Jake's name before the whole face came down. I was lucky, thrown clear by the first wave and able to anchor myself to a rock outcropping. Jake wasn't. They found his body 3 days later, half a mile down the mountain. The climbing community turned on me after that. They were right to. It was my fault, my bad call, my recklessness. The official report said preventable accident due to poor judgment. Those words followed me everywhere. After Jake died, something broke inside me. The first time I tried to climb again, I made it 15 feet up before panic set in. My vision tunneled. My hands sweated so much I couldn't grip, and my heart felt like it would explode. Acrophobia, the doctor called it. Fear of heights. A climber afraid of heights, like a fish afraid of water. So I became a park ranger instead. I could still help people, still be in the mountains, but keep my feet mostly on the ground. I carried Jake's climbing gear everywhere, though his rope, carabiners, even his favorite red chalk bagol stuffed in my backpack like penance, a constant reminder of what happens when I make mistakes. I still kept my EMT certification current and practiced wilderness first aid skills regularly, just in case, but I avoided the climbing spots where I might run into old friends. I couldn't face their accusations, not when they matched the ones I made against myself every night. This morning, as I patrolled the base of Perdition Peak, the weight of Jake's gear felt especially heavy in my pack. 3 years to the day since I lost him. 3 years of carrying this guilt around like his ghost was sitting on my shoulders. I had no idea how literal that would become before the day was over. The first truly strange thing I found wasn't the weather or the echoes, it was the climbing gear. I was making my way around the north face when I spotted it, a bright blue backpack dangling from a rock outcropping about 2,000 feet up the sheer cliff. No one should have been able to reach that spot without serious climbing equipment and days of effort. Yet there it was, along with scattered ropes and what looked like a helmet, all spread across the vertical face, as if someone had been climbing in impossible ways. I raised my binoculars to get a better look. That's when I saw the first body. A climber in a red jacket was wedged into a narrow crack, limp and unmoving. The position was all wrong. That section of the mountain was completely inaccessible from below or above, without specialized equipment. It was like someone had placed the body there deliberately. My radio crackled to life. Base to Rodriguez. We've got a report of missing climbers. Team of 3 didn't check in last night. My mouth went dry. Rodriguez to base. I think I found them. North face. You'll need helicopter rescue. They're in impossible places. I kept scanning with my binoculars and located the second body hanging upside down from an overhang, and the third sprawled across a smooth section of rock with no handholds at all. None of it made sense. These were locations no human could reach. Without leaving evidence of their climb pittons, ropes, anchors, there was nothing except footprints. Massive, deep impressions in the snow at the base of the cliff. They were shaped like human feet, but each one was at least 20 inches long. And they did something footprints shouldn't do. They went straight up the vertical rock face, as if whatever made them could walk up walls like a spider. I took pictures with my camera, but when I reviewed them, the images were distorted. Familiar landmarks appeared in the wrong places. The cliff face seemed to bend in ways that defied physics. In one photo, the peak itself was missing completely, replaced by empty sky. I set my backpack down to get my emergency flares, and when I turned back, Jake's climbing rope had uncoiled itself and was now arranged in a perfect spiral on the snow. There was no wind, no slope for it to have rolled down. It had moved on its own. My hands shook as I reached for my radio again. Before I could call in, it spoke. Help at the overhang. Come quickly. The voice was unfamiliar, distant. Who's this? Identify yourself, I demanded. The reply came before I'd finished speaking. He's still alive. Hurry. Someone was alive up there. I looked again at the figure hanging upside down from the impossible overhang. Could they have survived the night like that? I hesitated. The cliff face was exactly the kind of climb that would trigger my panic attacks. But if someone was alive up there, I checked my instruments again. The temperature gauge on my watch showed 15 degrees. The one on my backpack read 65. They were 6 inches apart. Nothing made sense. I forced myself to approach the base of the cliff. That's when I saw them climbing anchors driven into solid rock, not drilled or hammered in, but pushed in, as if the metal had been forced into stone. Like it was soft clay. Some strange force had exerted impossible downward pressure. A weak voice called from above. Help, ... please, ... I looked up and could now make out movement from the hanging figure. Somehow, someone was alive up there, suspended, in a place no climber should be able to reach or survive. I'm coming, I called, already knowing I'd have to climb to reach them. The thought made my stomach drop. It took me 30 minutes to get halfway up, fighting through waves of panic and using Jake's gear. Every fiber of my being screamed to go back down, but I kept going. The man's voice guided me, though sometimes it seemed to come from different directions at once. When I finally reached him, I nearly fell from shock. It was David Park, an experienced climber I'd known for years. He was hanging upside down from a rock formation that shouldn't have been able to support his weight. Yet there he was. His eyes were wide with terror. Kat, is that really you? It's me, David. I'm going to get you down. What happened? How did you get up here? His words came out in broken gasps. It moved us, ... The mountain giant, ... It walks through rock like it's water, ... It put Sammy and Mark where they couldn't survive, but it saved me. It wants you to know it's here. What are you talking about? What mountain giant? David's eyes rolled wildly. Bigfoot, but not like the stories. It teleports ... changes things. The mountain does what it wants. You need to be careful. Kat, it knows who you are. It knows about Jake. A chill ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold. How could anything on this mountain know about Jake? I managed to secure David to my harness and slowly lower him down to a small ledge where we could rest. His eyes kept darting around, searching the rocks above us. I gave him water and checked him for injuries. Apart from dehydration and mild hypothermia, he seemed physically okay. Mentally was another story. "You think I'm crazy?" he whispered. "I would too, if I hadn't seen it." "I don't think you're crazy," I said. "I've seen some strange things on the mountain today myself." That's when I noticed it. A figure standing on the rock face to our right, not on a ledge or outcropping, but directly on the vertical cliff, as if gravity didn't apply. At first, I thought it was a shadow or trick of the light. Then it moved. It was huge, at least 12 feet tall, with broad shoulders and a body covered in dark, matted fur. Its face was mostly hidden, but I could make out deep-set eyes that reflected the sunlight like mirrors. A Bigfoot, just as David had said, but wrong somehow. It didn't belong in our world. "Don't move," I whispered to David, though I'm not sure why. The creature clearly knew we were there. As I stared, it simply disappeared, not running away or climbing. Just there 1 second and gone the next. A heartbeat later, it reappeared on the opposite side of us, hundreds of feet away, still standing impossibly on the vertical rock. "It can teleport," David said, his voice shaking. "It's been playing with us since yesterday. It separated our team, moving each of us to different parts of the mountain in the blink of an eye." The air around us grew suddenly cold, then hot, then cold again. Snow began to fall, but only in a perfect circle around where we sat. The rest of the mountain remained clear and sunny. My compass spun wildly, and the hands on my watch began to move backward. I felt dizzy, like the mountain itself was shifting beneath me. The creature appeared again, this time only 20 feet above us. It raised one massive hand and pointed directly at me. In my head, I heard a sound like rushing water, and then images flashed through my mind. Jake, smiling at me as we prepared for our climb. The avalanche, rolling down in slow motion. Jake's body, broken at the bottom of the ravine. And me, standing at his funeral, alone. The images weren't memories. They were too clear, too perfect. Like watching a movie. The creature was somehow putting them in my head. "It shows you things," David whispered. "Things it shouldn't know." The Bigfoot disappeared again. This time, when it reappeared, it was phasing through solid rock, its body half in and half out of the mountain face, as if the stone were liquid. It pulled itself fully out and stood watching us. I felt a wave of disorientation, so powerful I had to grab onto the rock face to keep from falling. When my vision cleared, the ledge we'd been sitting on was now somehow 30 feet higher up the mountain than it had been before. The creature had moved us without touching us. "What does it want?" I asked David, trying to keep my voice steady. "I think it's protecting something," he said. "When Mark tried to climb higher than this point, it moved him to that impossible crack where you found him. When Sammy tried to set up anchors in a certain area, it put him on that smooth face where he couldn't hold on." The creature vanished again. My radio crackled with static. Then a voice that sounded like a mix of Jake's and someone else's came through. "Catherine Rodriguez. The test begins." David grabbed my arm. "It saved me, Cat. I was falling a certain death fall in. Suddenly I wasn't. Gravity just ... stopped working for a few seconds. Then I was hanging up there. It's like it wants to show what it can do." The entity appeared again, this time directly in front of our ledge. It was close enough that I could see its face clearly, now surprisingly human-like, but with features that seemed to shift and change as I watched. Its eyes locked with mine, and I felt another flood of images. The mountain before humans ever climbed it. Indigenous people leaving offerings at its base. Early settlers avoiding it because of strange phenomena. And Jake, somehow still present on the mountain. A ghostly figure watching over climbers in danger. I gasped. "Jake." The creature tilted its head. More images filled my mind. Jake's spirit, tied to the mountain somehow, and this entity as its guardian or jailer. I couldn't tell which. The Bigfoot stepped backward off the ledge and hovered in mid-air. It pointed upward, toward the peak, then at me. The message was clear. I needed to climb to the top. "It wants you to follow," David said. "Just like it made me follow yesterday." "What happened to you when you followed?" David's eyes clouded. "I can't remember, but I know it tested me somehow, and I failed. That's why it left me hanging there." The creature began to fade from sight. just before it disappeared completely. One final image burned into my mind. Jake's climbing gear, the same equipment I carried in my pack, being used to scale the most dangerous section of Perdition Peak. When the entity vanished, the mountain seemed to return to normal. The weird weather stopped. My compass pointed north again, but something had changed in me. I knew what I had to do. I need to get you down to safety, I told David. Then I'm going up. You can't, he said. Your fear of heights. This isn't about me anymore, I said. It's about Jake, and whatever's happening on this mountain, I'm part of it now. As we prepared to descend, I felt a strange certainty growing inside me. The entity hadn't appeared by chance today, on the anniversary of Jake's death. It had been waiting for me to return, waiting 3 years for me to face what I'd done, and what I needed to do next. Getting David down to safety took longer than I expected. Twice during our descent, the rock face seemed to shift beneath my hands, handholds disappearing and reappearing in different places. By the time I reached the base and handed him over to the rescue team that had arrived, the sun was already starting to dip toward the western peaks. You can't go back up there, the team leader told me. Not with night coming. I just nodded and waited until they loaded David into the helicopter. As soon as they were gone, I turned back to the mountain. The massive footprints in the snow seemed to be waiting for me. This time, as I approached the cliff face, I felt a strange calm replace my usual panic. The acrophobia that had paralyzed me for 3 years was still there, but muted somehow, as if someone was helping me carry the fear. I began to climb using Jake's gear, his carabiners clicking into place with familiar sounds, his rope smooth. In my hands, every movement felt guided, like someone was showing me the best route up the increasingly vertical face. The sun set, but I didn't need my headlamp. The strange aurora lights returned, illuminating the mountain in blues and greens. That made climbing at night almost as easy as during the day. Halfway up, it happened. The rock beneath my right hand simply disappeared, and I fell. My stomach lurched as I dropped, but instead of the expected jerk of the rope catching me, I stopped in midair, floating as if gravity had been switched off. Then I was gently moved back to the cliff face, placed exactly where I needed to be to continue. "Thank you," I whispered, not sure if I was talking to the entity or to Jake's ghost. As I climbed higher, the mountain began to change more dramatically around me. Sections of rock became transparent, showing cave systems that couldn't possibly exist. Time seemed to flow strangely. The moon raced across the sky, then reversed direction, then stopped completely. I lost track of how long I'd been climbing when I reached a sheer wall that stretched upward for at least 500 feet without a single handhold. Was an impossible obstacle, one that no human climber could overcome. The entity appeared beside me, standing horizontally on the vertical face. It pointed at the wall, then at Jake's gear, then at me. "I can't climb that," I said. "There's nothing to hold on to." The creature tilted its head, and suddenly I was no longer on the mountain. I was back 3 years ago, watching the avalanche that took Jake. But this time, I was seeing it from a different angle. I could see what I'd missed before Jake had spotted the danger signs I'd ignored. He'd tried to warn me but followed anyway because he trusted me more than his own instincts. The scene shifted, and I was with Jake as he was buried. I felt his fear, his pain, and then something else. Forgiveness. His last thoughts weren't anger at me, but worry for how I would cope with what happened. The vision changed again, and I saw dozens of climbers over the past 3 years, all in dangerous situations on Perdition Peak. In each scene, something subtle intervened, a mysteriously appearing handhold, a sudden gust of wind that pushed a climber back from a crumbling edge, a momentary change in gravity that prevented a fatal fall, and behind each intervention, a faint outline that looked like Jake. The visions stopped, and I was back on the mountain face, tears freezing on my cheeks. The entity watched me, its eyes reflecting the strange aurora lights. "Jake's been here, all along," I whispered, "helping people, and you've been helping him." The creature nodded slowly, then pointed again at the impossible wall, at Jake's gear, and at me. I understood now. This wasn't just a test, it was a choice. I took out Jake's favorite red chalk bag and covered my hands. The powder glowed faintly in the dark, illuminated by the aurora. When I placed my hands against the featureless wall, something impossible happened. Handholds appeared under my fingers, perfectly shaped for my grip. As I climbed the impossible wall, Reality kept shifting around me. Sometimes the rock became soft like clay, sometimes hard as diamond. The temperature changed with every few feet, from burning hot to freezing cold. Gravity strengthened and weakened unpredictably. The only constant was the handholds that kept appearing just when I needed them. Near the top, the wall became completely smooth again, with no holes at all. I pressed my forehead against the cold stone, exhausted and unsure what to do next. That's when I felt a familiar presence beside me. Not the entity, but something warmer. Something that felt like Jake. "I'm sorry," I whispered to the presence. "I've been blaming myself for so long." The air around me warmed slightly, like a gentle hug. "I can't keep carrying this guilt," I continued, "but I don't know how to let it go." The presence grew stronger, and in my mind, I heard Jake's voice as clearly as if he were hanging on the rock face beside me. "You don't have to choose between holding on and letting go, Cat. You can do both." I understood then what the entity had been trying to show me. Jake's spirit had become part of this mountain, a protector of those in danger, and now it was offering me a choice. I could join him in death, or I could accept the forgiveness he was offering and become a different kind of guardian. I placed my hand against the smooth wall one more time. "I choose life," I said firmly. "I choose to protect others, like Jake has been doing." The wall beneath my fingers transformed. What had been smooth stone became a series of perfect handholds all the way to the top. As I made the final climb, I felt lighter than I had in 3 years, the weight of guilt finally lifting. When I reached the summit of Perdition Peak, the entity was waiting. It stood at its full height, 12 feet of impossible power, but now it didn't seem frightening. It extended one massive hand toward me. I hesitated only a moment before taking it. Energy flowed through me, changing something fundamental in my body and spirit. The mountain itself seemed to enter my awareness, every climber on its slopes, suddenly visible to me like glowing stars in my mind. I could feel the weather patterns, the snow conditions, the stability of every rock face. The entity released my hand and stepped back. In my mind, I heard one final message, not in words, but in feelings and images. I had passed the test. From now on, I would be connected to Perdition Peak, able to sense those in danger and help them in ways that seemed miraculous but were just beyond normal human understanding. I wouldn't replace Jake, he would continue his spiritual guardianship, but I would be his partner once again, bridging the world of the living and whatever dimension he now inhabited. The entity gave me one final nod before disappearing for the last time, phasing backward into solid rock and vanishing completely. I stayed on the summit until dawn, feeling the mountain breathe beneath me, learning the extent of my new awareness. When the sun rose, I began my descent, a journey that should have taken hours but somehow took minutes, as if the mountain itself was helping me down. My name is Marcus Thompson. I've been a park ranger here in Olympic National Forest for just over 3 years now, and I still can't shake the feeling that something's not right about these woods. Today feels different. The ancient Douglas fir trees stand like silent giants around me, reaching nearly 300 feet into the sky. They block out most of the sunlight, leaving the forest floor in a constant twilight, even during midday. I check my watch, 2:30 p.m., though you'd never know it from the dim light filtering through the dense canopy. With each step I take, the thick carpet of moss swallows the sound of my boots. It's too quiet here. In normal forests, you hear things: birds calling, insects buzzing, small animals rustling through undergrowth. Not here. The silence wraps around you like a heavy blanket. A light drizzle has been falling all morning, typical for this part of Washington. The moisture hangs in the air, creating a misty haze that plays tricks on your eyes and ears. Sometimes, I think I see movement in the corner of my eye, but when I turn, there's nothing there. The mist distorts sounds, too, making far-off noises seem close and nearby sounds distant. I step carefully across a fallen log that bridges a deep ravine. Below me, water rushes over smooth stones. These natural bridges are everywhere in the forest, like nature's own walkways across the dangerous drops. Something's off today. I've been tracking Roosevelt elk for weeks. Their trails crisscross through the underbrush everywhere, but I haven't seen a single animal in miles. No deer, no elk, not even squirrels. It's as if they all decided to pack up and leave. Boom, I drop to a crouch instinctively, my heart pounding. That sounded like a sonic boom, but there are no flight paths over this part of the forest. I scan the sky through gaps in the canopy, but see nothing except those strange spiraling clouds that have been forming all day. There it goes again, another boom echoing through the treetops. My ears pop painfully as the air pressure shifts. Around me, it's like being in an airplane during a rapid descent, but I'm standing still on solid ground. I check my altimeter, it shows we're suddenly 400 feet higher than a minute ago, which is impossible. I haven't climbed an inch. I pull out my compass, hoping to get my bearings, but the needle swings wildly before settling stubbornly toward the northwest, pointing directly at Mount Olympus. I turn in a complete circle, and it doesn't budge. Something's interfering with it. Looking up through a break in the trees, I see those clouds again. They're unlike anything I've ever witnessed. Perfect spirals, like giant fingerprints in the sky, centered directly over this section of forest. No natural weather pattern forms like that. My radio crackles with static. I need to check in with headquarters, but all I'm getting is interference and strange, pulsing sounds cutting through the white noise. 3 years I've walked these woods, and I've never felt this uneasy. Something has changed in the forest. Something is wrong. And I'm afraid I'm about to find out exactly what it is. I wasn't always a park ranger. Before this, I wore a different uniform, green beret, combat boots, and enough weapons to start a small war. 3 tours in Vietnam with special forces taught me things about survival that most people never learn. How to move silently through dense jungle. How to track someone or something that doesn't want to be found. How to stay alive when everything around you is trying to kill you. Today marks exactly 5 years since I lost my entire squad. We were on a mission along the Cambodian border, a mission that, according to the government, never happened. 12 good men gone in a single night. And me, I was the lucky one who made it back. I still see their faces in my dreams, still hear their screams, still feel the weight of knowing I couldn't save them. The army gave me medals that I keep in a box under my bed. They discharged me with full honors, but made me sign papers saying I'd never talk about that final mission. That's how it works with the things they don't want people to know about. After I got out, I couldn't handle being around crowds. The noise, the movement, it all brought me right back to that night. One backfiring car had me diving behind a dumpster in the middle of downtown Seattle. That's when I knew I needed space. Lots of it. This ranger job was perfect. Miles of forest, minimal human contact, just me and my thoughts in the wilderness. Every morning, I still do the same workout routine I did in the military: 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 5-mile run, even in the rain. Old habits die hard. I keep my shooting skills sharp too. The rangers have a small firing range for wildlife management training. The other rangers joke that I could shoot a pine cone off a branch from 100 yards. They're not wrong. I never married. Never even came close. What woman wants a man who wakes up screaming in the middle of the night, who sees threats in every shadow, who can't even walk into a grocery store without checking all the exits first? It's better this way, safer for everyone. As I hike deeper into the forest, I can't shake the feeling that today is going to bring back memories of Cambodia. That same heavy feeling in my gut, that same electric tension in the air. My instincts saved me once before. I've learned to trust them. I touch the knife strapped to my leg, a habit from my military days. I've also got my standard issue Ranger sidearm, though I've never had to use it out here. Not yet, anyway. The radio at my hip buzzes again with strange static. I was supposed to check on a small research team studying bat populations near the North Ridge. They missed their last 3 chickens. Headquarters isn't worried, yet researchers get caught up in their work and forget to call in all the time. But with everything else feeling off today, I'm picking up my pace. Something rustles in the canopy above me. I freeze, looking up, but see nothing through the thick branches. Just that strange mist and those spiral clouds beyond. I grip my pack, straps tighter, and push forward. Whatever's happening in these woods today, I need to find that research team, and I need to find them fast. I smell it before I see it, that unmistakable copper scent of blood mixed with something else, something burnt. The research station comes into view through the mist, and I immediately reach for my sidearm. The main structure is torn apart, not collapsed from weather or age-torn, like a paper model ripped by angry hands. The metal walls, designed to withstand the harshest mountain conditions, are peeled outward with deep gouges that no bear or mountain lion could make. Some of the marks are as long as my arm and cut clear through quarter-inch steel. "Hello, Park Ranger. Anyone here?" My voice sounds tiny in the vast silence of the forest. No answer. I approach cautiously, scanning the tree line, the roof. Behind me, years of training kick in. Never enter an unsecured area without checking all approaches. Something is very wrong here. Inside, the research equipment is scattered everywhere. Glass shattered, computers smashed, papers floating in puddles on the floor. The rain patters through gaping holes in the ceiling. Then I see the first body. I have to crane my neck to look up. About 40 feet above me, impaled on a broken branch, is a man in a lab coat. His arms hang limply, swaying slightly in the breeze. There's no way he got up there by accident. 20 yards away, I find the second researcher. Same position, different tree. A third body hangs from yet another tree further out, all of them lifted and impaled with incredible force, as if they weighed nothing at all. What could do this? What could lift a full-grown man 40 feet into the air and drive him onto a branch like that, near what's left of the main research table? I find equipment still running on backup power. It's some kind of sound recording setup with headphones attached. I put them on and immediately yank them off, as a deep, pulsing sound makes my teeth vibrate. The frequency is so low I can barely hear it, but I can feel it in my chest, my sinuses, behind my eyes. A nearby beaker cracks just from the vibration. I notice something else. The forest here is completely empty of bats. The research team came specifically to study the massive colonies that roost in these trees. But there's not a single bat in sight. Their equipment shows they were here in huge numbers just 3 days ago. Now, nothing. As I move through the wreckage, I notice huge impressions in the mud nearby. Someone pressed 2 giant hand-shaped molds into the ground. Except they're not hands. They look more like ... wings. Massive wings that left perfect imprints when something very heavy landed. The ground trembles slightly under my feet. The seismic monitor on the wall is still working, its needle jumping with each vibration. According to the readout, these impacts are coming from above something heavy, repeatedly hitting the ground. The computer estimates the weight at over 800 pounds. A soft whimpering catches my attention. It's coming from beneath what's left of the floor. I move aside broken boards to reveal a small emergency bunker built under the station. Smart planning for researchers in such a remote location. "Hello, I'm a park ranger. Is someone down there?" The whimpering stops, replaced by a woman's shaky voice. "Are you alone?" "Yes, ma'am. I'm here to help." After a long pause, I hear the click of a lock, and the hatch slowly opens. A woman peers out, her face dirty and streaked with tears. Her name tag reads Dr. Sarah Kim. "Thank God," she whispers, climbing out. She's trembling so badly she can barely stand. "You have to get us out of here. It'll come back after dark. It always comes back." "What comes back? What did this?" She grabs my arm, her fingers digging in with surprising strength. "We were just studying the bats. That's all. But then it came. This ... this flying nightmare. Like a bat, but huge, massive." And she chokes back a sob. "It took them, one by one, lifted them like they were nothing." "Slow down, Dr. Kim. When did this happen?" 2 days ago. I've been hiding. I heard it come back last night, circling, hunting." She looks up at the trees where her colleagues hang. "It's playing with us. It's intelligent. It knows I'm still here." "That's impossible," I say. But even as the words leave my mouth, I remember the strange readings, the pressure changes, those perfect spiral clouds. "It's not impossible," she whispers. "We were studying bat migration, but something went wrong. The patterns changed after the military did some kind of sonic testing on the other side of the mountain. We started picking up strange frequencies, and then it appeared." Her eyes dart to the sky, visible through the torn roof. "It'll be dark. In a few hours. We need to be gone before then." I look around at the destruction, at the bodies hanging in the trees, at the terrified scientist. This isn't a bear attack or a storm. This is something else. Something I've never encountered before. And suddenly, I'm not in Washington anymore. I'm back in Cambodia. That feeling of being hunted by an unseen enemy closing in from all sides. A faint, leathery flapping sound echoes from somewhere in the distance, and Dr. Kim freezes. "It's coming," she whispers. "It's coming back early. We need to move now." I grab Dr. Kim's arm and pull her toward the door. Grab only what you absolutely need, nothing that will slow us down. She nods, quickly stuffing a small notebook and a portable hard drive into her pocket. Smart woman. That flapping sound grows, louder, like sheets snapping in a strong wind. We rush outside and I scan the canopy for movement. The mist makes it hard to see more than 50 yards in any direction. There, Dr. Kim points with a shaking finger. At first, I don't see anything. Then a shadow shifts against the darkening sky, and my blood runs cold. Perched on a massive Douglas fir about 100 yards away is ... something big. Its wingspan must be 15 feet across, wings like a bat's but thick and leathery, stretched over what looks like arms. Its body is dark, covered in what might be fur or scales, hard to tell in this light. But its eyes, those, I can see clearly. Yellow, intelligent eyes that seem to glow from within. The Batsquatch, as Dr. Kim called it, tilts its head, studying us with those calculating eyes. This isn't the mindless stare of a predator. This thing is thinking, planning. Don't move, I whisper, barely moving my lips. The creature shifts, slightly, adjusting its grip on the tree trunk. Claws the size of hunting knives dig into the bark like it's butter. Suddenly, my ears pop painfully. A pressure wave rolls over us, making the smaller trees bend. The sound is just at the edge of my hearing, a deep, penetrating pulse that I feel more than hear. My nose starts to bleed. Cover your ears, Dr. Kim shouts, dropping to her knees. It's starting its attack. I clamp my hands over my ears just as another wave hits us, stronger this time. A nearby window that somehow survived the previous attack shatters. I feel something warm trickle from my right earblood. It uses sound as a weapon. Dr. Kim gasps, her own ears bleeding. It can focus the vibrations. The longer we stay, the worse it gets. Internal bleeding, brain damage, then death. The creature launches from its perch, wings spread wide, but makes almost no sound as it glides. It's impossible something that big should create wind noise, at least, but it moves like a ghost through the air. Run, I shout, pulling Dr. Kim to her feet. We sprint toward a dense section of forest where the trees grow close together. The thing is too big to follow us there, I hope. Behind us, I hear it land with a heavy thud that shakes the ground. Then nothing. Complete silence. I look back and can't see it anymore. It's hunting us, Dr. Kim whispers as we crouch behind a fallen log. It doesn't just kill for food. It enjoys it. We've been watching it for days before the attack. It circles its prey, learning patterns, finding weaknesses. Just like a soldier, I finish for her. The realization hits me hard. This thing hunts with tactical precision. What do you know about those military tests? I ask her. She pulls out her notebook with shaking hands. They were testing some new kind of sonic weapon on the far side of the mountain. We were monitoring the effect on bat populations. The bats started acting strange, flying in perfect formations, attacking larger animals, showing signs of heightened intelligence. And then this thing showed up. She nods. About 2 weeks after the tests began. At first we thought it was just a large bat species we hadn't documented. Then we realized it was watching us, learning, growing bigger every day. A twig snaps somewhere to our left. We both freeze. It can map the entire area with its echolocation, Dr. Kim whispers. Better than any military sonar. It knows exactly where we are. I peer over the log but see nothing. The forest has grown, darker as evening approaches. The mist thickens around us. Look up, Dr. Kim breathes. Directly above us, hanging upside down from a branch 30 feet up, the creature stares down with those yellow eyes. It hasn't moved a muscle. It's been there the whole time, perfectly still, watching us hide like we're amateur children playing a game. It opens its mouth, revealing rows of teeth that would make a shark jealous. Then it does something that makes my skin crawl. It smiles. An actual, human-like smile of satisfaction. The creature drops, wings still folded, plummeting toward us at the last second. Its wings snap open with a crack like thunder. Split up, I shout, shoving Dr. Kim in one direction while I dive in the other. The creature swoops between us, talons extended, missing us both by inches. It banks sharply around a tree with impossible agility and hovers, assessing which one of us to chase. First its eyes lock onto mine, and in that moment, I swear it recognizes me, not just as prey, but as an opponent. A worthy challenge. It knows I'm different from the scientists. It knows I'm a threat. The bat squatch rises higher into the trees and disappears into the mist, but I can feel it circling above us, waiting for its moment to strike again. Marcus, Dr. Kim calls softly from behind a tree. I know how to hurt it. My research the bats was sensitive to certain frequencies. If this thing is related, a plan begins to form in my mind. We need to get back to your equipment, I tell her, and we need to do it before dark. Above us, those spiral clouds continue to swirl, and I realize they're centered directly above the creature, like it's somehow controlling the weather itself. We're not just being hunted by a mutated bat. We're being hunted by something that shouldn't exist at all. Stay low and move fast, I whisper to Dr. Kim. If it swoops, drop flat immediately. We make our way back toward the destroyed research station, using the trees for cover. Every few seconds, I scan the sky, looking for movement. The creature is up there somewhere, watching, waiting. The military created it, I say, as we pause behind a large fallen tree. Didn't they? Dr. Kim nods, her face pale in the fading light. Not on purpose. Their sonic weapon tests affected the local bat population. One bat bigger than the others, to start with, absorbed more of the frequencies. It grew, changed, evolved. We were documenting the changes. But then, she trails off, looking at the station where her colleagues still hang from the trees. It started thinking like a soldier. I finish for her, setting traps, planning attacks. Yes, it's like the sound waves rewired its brain, made it smarter, more tactical, and angry. A low boom echoes overhead, the creature's sonic attack, searching for us. We press ourselves against the damp earth as the pressure wave passes over us. If we get to my equipment, Dr. Kim says, I can reverse the frequency, create a counterwave that might hurt it, or at least drive it away. The rain picks up, and in the distance, thunder rumbles. A storm is coming. Good, the creature might have trouble flying in heavy wind and rain. It gives us a chance. We reach the edge of the clearing where the research station sits. No sign of the bat squatch. The bodies of Dr. Kim's colleagues sway gently in the breeze, a grim reminder of what happens if we fail. There, she points to a partially destroyed shed behind the main building. My specialized equipment is in there. We were using it to record bat echolocation. I nod. I'll go first. Draw its attention if it's nearby. When I signal, you run for the shed. Without waiting for her response, I dash across the open space, zigzagging like I was taught in the military. Nothing swoops down. No sonic attack comes. I reach the other side and take cover behind a large tree. I wave to Dr. Kim. She takes a deep breath and runs toward the shed. Halfway there, a massive shadow passes over her. The bat squatch drops from above, claws extended. Drop, I shout. She throws herself forward, sliding in the mud as the creature's talons grasp at empty air. It screeches in frustration, a sound so piercing I have to cover my ears. Dr. Kim scrambles to her feet and makes it to the shed. I fire a shot into the air, drawing the creature's attention to me. It works too well. The bat squatch turns mid-air and dives straight for me, faster than anything that size should move. I dive behind a pile of equipment as it crashes into the tree where I'd been standing. The entire trunk cracks from the impact. This thing is incredibly strong. Thunder booms overhead, closer now. The storm is almost here. Marcus, Dr. Kim calls from the shed. I need 5 minutes to set this up. You've got to. I yell back, firing another shot to keep the creature's attention. The bat squatch circles, its wings creating powerful downdrafts that bend the smaller trees. It's toying with me now, showing off its power. Those yellow eyes never leave me, tracking my every move. I need to buy time. I dash from cover to cover, making myself a moving target. The creature follows, diving occasionally but always pulling up short, like it's enjoying the chase. Rain falls in sheets now. Lightning flashes, briefly, illuminating the creature's full form. In that instant, I see it clearly for the first time. Muscular body covered in dark fur. Bat-like face with an almost human expression of intelligence. Powerful legs ending in talons that could tear a man in half. Almost ready, Dr. Kim shouts. Over the storm, the bat squatch turns toward her voice. No, it's identified the real threat. I fire at it, the bullet grazing its wing. It screeches and focuses on me again, eyes burning with rage. The creature opens its mouth and releases a focused sonic attack. The wave hits me like a physical blow, sending me flying backward into a tree trunk. The air leaves my lungs in a rush. Blood pours from my nose and ears. Lightning strikes a nearby tree, the thunder immediate and deafening. The Batsquatch falters in the air, disoriented by the natural sound wave that just overloaded its sensitive hearing. That's when I realized the storm is our ally. The thunder disrupts its sonic attacks. And echolocation. Now, Sarah, I yell. Use the storm. Dr. Kim emerges from the shed, holding what looks like a small satellite dish connected to a backpack unit. She points it at the creature and flips a switch. Nothing happens, at least nothing I can hear. But the effect on the Batsquatch is immediate. It convulses in midair, its wings folding involuntarily. It drops to the ground with a heavy thud, thrashing and screeching. The ultrasonic frequency disrupts its nervous system. Dr. Kim shouts over the storm. But the battery won't last long. I see my chance. Using the creature's momentary weakness, I sprint to the research station and grab a canister of fuel used for their generator. If we can't kill this thing, we need to at least destroy all evidence of what the military has done. The Batsquatch begins to recover, its movements becoming more coordinated. Dr. Kim's device is losing power. We need to go. Now, I yell, splashing fuel around the main building. Wait, she calls. We need evidence. The world needs to know what happened here. I hesitate. She's right. The government will cover this up just like they did with my squad in Cambodia. More experiments, more deaths, more denial. But before I can respond, the Batsquatch rises to its full height, its fury visible even through the pouring rain. It spreads its massive wings and releases the most powerful sonic attack yet. The pressure wave hits us both. I'm thrown backward, my vision blurring. Dr. Kim collapses, blood streaming from her ears. The creature advances on her fallen form. I have seconds to decide: kill the creature and destroy the evidence, or try to preserve proof of what happened here. I grab a road flare from my emergency kit and light it. The bright red flame hisses in the rain. Hey, I shout, remember me, Special Forces. I've killed things a lot scarier than you. The Batsquatch turns, recognizing the challenge in my voice. It steps away from Dr. Kim, focusing entirely on me now. I back up, drawing it toward the fuel-soaked building. Just a few more steps. It charges, moving with incredible speed despite its size. At the last second, I dive aside and throw the flare into the fuel. The whoosh of ignition is immediate. Flames engulf the structure and catch the creature's wing. The Batsquatch screeches, in pain and rage as the fire spreads across its body. It thrashes wildly, trying to extinguish the flames, but the fuel burns too hot, even in the rain. I drag Dr. Kim away from the inferno, checking her pulse. She's alive, but badly injured. Through the flames, I see the creature stagger and fall. Its screech turns into a gurgle, then silence. The spiral clouds above begin to dissipate. As I lift Dr. Kim to carry her to safety, a new sound cuts through the storm helicopter rotors. Military helicopters, appearing far too quickly to be coincidence. They knew. They were monitoring the whole time. I grabbed Dr. Kim's hard drive and notebook and stuffed them inside my jacket. At least some evidence will survive. The helicopters land in the clearing. Men in unmarked black tactical gear pour out, weapons raised. Not regular military, some kind of special unit. Park Ranger Thompson, a voice calls through a megaphone. Put the woman down and step away. This is a matter of national security. I recognize the setup. The same way they debriefed me after Cambodia. No witnesses, no evidence, no troublesome survivors to tell stories that contradict the official narrative. Dr. Kim stirs in my arms. Run, she whispers. Take the evidence. I'll be okay. But I know better. Neither of us will be okay if I surrender. I set her gently against a tree and step forward, hands raised, buying her time to fully regain consciousness. Gentlemen, I call out. I think we all know what happened here. The men advance cautiously, their weapons trained on me. Behind them, others are already securing the creature's remains. I glance back at Dr. Kim. She's alert now, understanding in her eyes. She edges toward the deeper forest while they focus on me. You created a monster, I continue, keeping their attention. And now you're here to clean up your mess, just like Cambodia. The lead agent falters slightly at the mention of Cambodia. That operation doesn't exist in any record. Thompson, just like this one, won't. I see Dr. Kim disappear into the trees. Good, she has the evidence. Maybe she'll make it out, tell the truth. So what happens now? I ask, already knowing the Answer now. You were tragically killed investigating a research station destroyed by a forest fire. A terrible accident. I nod slowly. That's what I figured. I make my choice in that moment. These men are just following orders. If I fight, I might take a few with me, but Dr. Kim's chances of escape would disappear. Sometimes the mission is more important than the soldier. Just make it quick, I say, lowering my hands. And do me a favor when you write up the report. Mention that I didn't go down easily in Cambodia either. The leader raises his weapon. Nothing personal, Thompson. It never is, I reply. The last thing I see is a flash of light from his weapon. My last thought is of Dr. Kim, running through the forest with the truth. Running with the evidence that might stop this from happening again. Sometimes, that's the best a soldier can hope for. My name is Elena Vasquez. I'm a park ranger here in Gila National Forest, New Mexico. I'm 28 years old, and before this job, I fixed planes in the Air Force. But that's a story for another time. I've been feeling strange all day. Something's not right in the canyon. The hot desert wind is blowing hard today, carrying the smell of sage, and something else. Something rotting. I can't figure out where it's coming from. The wind wraps around the copper-colored canyon walls like it's alive, whispering secrets I can't quite hear. The afternoon sun is creating weird shadows between the tall sandstone towers. They stretch and move like fingers reaching across the ground. Sometimes I think I see things moving in those shadows, but when I look straight at them, there's nothing. There, from where I'm standing, I can see the old cliff houses built by the Anasazi people hundreds of years ago. The empty windows look like eye sockets in a skull, watching everything that happens in the valley below. My grandmother used to say the ancient ones still live there in spirit. Today, I almost believe her. Something's got the coyotes upset. They're howling, which isn't normal in the middle of the day. They only do that when something scary enters their territory. I've been a ranger long enough to know when animals act weird, trouble usually follows. The weirdest thing happened this morning. We got a flash flood warning on our emergency system, but there isn't a cloud in the sky. Just endless blue stretching forever. It's like the weather itself knows something bad is coming. The radio tower on the mesa keeps picking up strange sounds. When I was checking the equipment earlier, I heard what sounded like people screaming through the static, but there's nobody up there. I checked twice. There are so many buzzards circling overhead today. That usually means something dead is nearby, but these birds won't land. It's like they're afraid of whatever's down here. Or the plants look sick, even though it rained just last week. Their roots are turning black, like something's poisoning the ground. I took samples to send to the lab, but I have a feeling this isn't something science can explain. The strangest thing of all, my shadow, twice today, I've caught it moving. When I was standing still, just little movements, like a twitch or a wave. I'm trying to tell myself it's just my imagination or a trick of the light. There are ancient drawings on some of the canyon walls pictures made by the people who lived here long ago. This morning, while I was doing my rounds, I swear those pictures were moving when I wasn't looking directly at them, dancing and changing shape just at the edge of my vision. Something is very wrong in Copper Canyon today, and I think I'm about to find out what it is. I should probably tell you a bit about myself, since we might be here a while. I grew up not far from here, on the Navajo reservation. My grandmother raised me after my dad died in the Korean War. She used to tell me stories at night about skinwalkers, evil witches who could turn into animals. I'd pull the blanket up to my chin and listen, half scared, half excited. She said, they could steal your voice and your face if you weren't careful. Back then, I thought they were just stories to keep kids from wandering off alone. When I turned 18, I joined the Air Force, not because I wanted to fight wars, but because it was a ticket out of poverty. The reservation didn't have many jobs, and I wanted more from life. I was good with my hands and learned quickly, so they trained me to fix planes. I loved the work figuring out why an engine wasn't running right, felt like solving a puzzle. I also got really good with radios and electronic equipment, but things went bad in my third year. My commanding officer started asking me to stay late, finding reasons to be alone with me. When he tried to touch me and I said no, he made my life hell. I reported him, but nobody believed me. In the end, I was the one who got pushed out. 10 years of service down the drain. That was hard, but not as hard as what happened with my grandmother. When I told her I was joining the military, she got so angry. She said I was choosing the white man's machine spirits over our ancestor spirits. On the day I left, she wouldn't even look at me. She said I wasn't Navajo anymore. That hurt more than anything, because even while I was fixing planes, I kept a small turquoise necklace she gave me hidden under my uniform. It was blessed by a medicine man when I was a baby. It's the only thing I have that connects me to home. My grandfather taught me how to track animals and survive in the desert before he passed away. Those skills helped me get this ranger job after the Air Force. Out here, I can speak all three of my languages, Navajo, Spanish, and English, but I don't really feel like I belong anywhere. The reservation people think I'm too white people think I'm too Navajo, and I'm stuck in the middle. I have a problem with drinking sometimes. Bad days, I reach for the bottle like my father did. I'm trying to stop, but it's not easy when the memories get loud. Today is especially hard. It's exactly 3 years since my grandmother died. The worst part, she died while I was overseas, and I couldn't get leave to go to her funeral. I never got to say sorry, never got to make things right. Maybe that's why everything feels so strange. Today, maybe I'm just sad, or maybe something else is happening. Either way, I need to focus on my job and not on ghosts from the past. I check my watch. It's time to start my afternoon patrol. As I grab my gear, I can't shake the feeling that someone or something is watching me from the shadows. I drove my Jeep down the dusty Ranger Road, the radio crackling with static. That's when I saw it, about half a mile off the main path. Something caught my eye. I stopped the Jeep and grabbed my binoculars. 5 dead cattle, but not just scattered around like normal animal attacks. They were placed in a perfect star shape, a pentagon. Each one faced the middle, like someone or something had arranged them that way on purpose. My hands shook as I lowered the binoculars. This has to be some kind of sick joke, I said out loud, though no one was there to hear me. I parked and walked over to check it out. Around the cattle were footprints, human footprints. I followed them, taking pictures for the report I'd have to file. Then the strangest thing happened. The footprints suddenly changed. One step was a boot print. The next was some kind of animal paw. Big, like a wolf or a bear, but not quite right. The tracks led away into the brush. I keyed my radio. Base, this is Vasquez. I've found something strange out by Copper Creek. Some dead cattle arranged in a pattern. Possible poachers. I'm going to investigate. Only static came back. Then, through the noise, I heard my own voice. Help me, I'm trapped in the old mine shaft. Please, anyone. I nearly dropped the radio. That was my voice, exactly how I sound. But I hadn't said those words. I tried again. Base, do you copy? Is someone playing a joke? More static. Then again, please help. I can't breathe in here. My heart was pounding now. I switched the radio off and clipped it back to my belt. This wasn't a joke. This was something else. I decided to check out the old abandoned hogan, about a quarter-mile away. It was an old Navajo home that tourists sometimes visited. As I got closer, I saw something hanging from the doorway that made me stop cold. Bones. What looked like human. Finger bones tied together with dried sage, blocking the entrance. In Navajo tradition, you never block a doorway like that, unless something evil is trapped inside. I backed away slowly. The air was dead still, not even a breeze, but I could hear whistling, soft at first, then louder. It seemed to come from the canyon walls themselves. A melody I almost recognized but couldn't quite place. I took some pictures of the hogan with my digital camera. When I checked them on the small screen, I nearly screamed. In the doorway of the hogan, behind the bone curtain, stood a dark figure that hadn't been there when I took the picture. The face was blurry, but it seemed to be looking right at the camera, right at me. Back at my Jeep, I checked the visitor logbook we keep at the trailhead. I flipped through the pages, making sure all the hikers had checked back out. That's when I saw the names. Johnson family, 1973. Roberts, 1986. My father's name from 1950. Years before I was born. All signed in today's date, in fresh ink. I slammed the book shut and started the Jeep. I needed to get back to base and call for help. That's when I saw the pile of clothes by the side of the road. A hiker's backpack, a blue shirt, and hiking boots. Next to them was a dead coyote wearing a watch around its front paw. The same watch I'd seen on a tourist yesterday. I followed more tracks up the canyon wall. my ranger training kicking in despite my fear. They led straight to a solid rock face and stopped. I put my hand on the cool stone, nothing unusual, but on the other side, when I walked around the long way, the same tracks continued, as if whoever made them had walked straight through solid rock. That's when I heard moaning. Behind a pile of boulders, I found Pete Hawkins, an old prospector who lived in these parts. He was huddled in a ball, rocking back and forth. His clothes were torn, and he had scratches all over his face and arms. "Pete, it's Elena, the park ranger. Are you hurt?" He looked up at me, but his eyes were different somehow. Too wide, too bright. He opened his mouth, but instead of words, he made a sound like a coyote howling. Then he scratched at the dirt, like he was digging, making strange grunting noises. "Pete, I'm going to get you help," I said, reaching for my radio. That's when he grabbed my wrist. His grip was so strong it hurt. He leaned in close and whispered in my ear, but it wasn't Pete's voice anymore. It was something else, something that made my blood turn cold. "She's coming for you, Elena, the one who walks between worlds. She knows your name, your real name." Then he let go of me and scurried away on all fours, disappearing into the shadows between the rocks. I stood there, frozen, because there was only one person who knew my real Navajo name, my dead grandmother. The sun was starting to set as I made my way back to my jeep. Long shadows stretched across the canyon floor, and the red rocks glowed like they were on fire. I needed to get back to base and report everything I'd seen. But as I rounded the corner, I stopped dead in my tracks. There, standing next to my vehicle, was my grandmother. She looked exactly like I remembered her, gray hair in a traditional bun, the blue calico dress she always wore, her hands wrinkled but strong. She smiled at me. "Ya Thche," she said in perfect Navajo. "Hello, my little one." My mouth went dry. This couldn't be real. My grandmother had been dead for 3 years. "You're not her," I whispered, my hand moving to the turquoise necklace hidden under my uniform. Her smile changed then, stretching too wide for a human face. "But I am Elena. Don't you recognize your own Shemisani?" She took a step toward me, and I backed away. Something was wrong with her movements, too smooth, like she was floating rather than walking. My grandmother would never come back. "Like this," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She believed that the dead should stay in the spirit world. The thing that looked like my grandmother laughed, but the sound came from all around me, not just from her mouth. "You abandoned our ways when you left for the white man's war machines. You have no right to speak of what I would or wouldn't do." As she spoke, her form seemed to shimmer. One moment she was my grandmother, the next she was a coyote standing on its hind legs, then she was an eagle with human eyes, then a bear with teeth too long and sharp for any natural animal. I'd heard the stories all my life, but seeing it in front of me made my blood freeze. Skinwalker, Yin Old Lushi, the evil witch that can take any form. Around its neck hung a necklace made of human teeth and finger bones. They clicked together as it moved, like tiny wind chimes. "Why are you here?" I asked, slowly reaching for the pepper spray on my belt. I knew it probably wouldn't work on something like this, but it was all I had. "I'm here because you called me, Elena Maria Vasquez." "Beg," it said, my full name including my Navajo family name that I never used, a name only my grandmother knew. Its eyes reflected the setting sun like an animal's, but behind that glow was something intelligent and full of hate. "I never called you," I said. "Your shame called me, your guilt, the hole in your spirit where your culture should be." It pointed a finger at me that changed from human to claw and back again. "You feel it, don't you? Not Navajo enough, not white enough, nowhere to belong." It knew exactly where to hurt me. Every doubt I'd ever had about myself. Every night I'd spent wondering if I'd made the wrong choice, leaving the reservation. "How do you know these things?" I asked. "I know everything about you. I know that you still drink yourself to sleep some nights. I know you dream of your father, even though you never met him. I know that your commanding officer touched you in places that still make you feel dirty." I felt sick. These were things I'd never told anyone. The creature moved closer, and this time I couldn't back away. My legs wouldn't work. "I know that on the day you left for the Air Force, your grandmother cursed you. She said you would never find peace until you returned to the old ways." "That's not true," I said, but my voice shook. "No. Then why have you carried that turquoise? All these years, why do you still say the morning prayers she taught you, even though you pretend not to believe?" Suddenly, the creature disappeared. It simply faded into the rock wall behind it. I stood there, breathing hard, wondering if I had imagined the whole thing. Then I felt hot breath on the back of my neck. "I've been watching you since you were a child, Elena," it whispered in my ear, "waiting for you to break away from the protection of your people. And now, here you are, alone." I spun around, but there was nothing there, just empty air. A noise made me turn back, toward my jeep. Pete Hawkins was there now, standing where the creature had been, but he wasn't the Pete I knew. His body was twisted, half human and half animal. Fur sprouted from his arms and face. His fingers had become claws, and his teeth were long and sharp in a mouth that had stretched into a muzzle. "She's inside me now," Pete said, his voice a horrible mix of human and animal sounds. "She gets inside you and takes over. First, your thoughts, then your body." He lurched toward me, moving like his bones were breaking with each step. "Run, Elena," he growled, fighting to get the words out. "Run before she gets you too. She's hungry. For you. For your power." "What power?" I asked. "I don't have any power." Pete's body jerked and twisted. He fell to his knees, screaming in pain as more fur burst from his skin. "Your bloodline," he managed to say through gritted teeth that were getting longer by the second. "Your grandmother was a medicine woman, the most powerful in 3 generations. She," his words cut off as his mouth transformed completely into a wolf's snout. The last human light in his eyes faded, replaced by something ancient and evil. I ran as fast as I could back toward my jeep. Behind me, I heard Peter, what used to be Pete, howling, not like a normal wolf or coyote, but like a human trying to make animal sounds with a throat not designed for it. I jumped in my jeep and turned the key. The engine sputtered but wouldn't start. I tried again. Nothing. In the rearview mirror, I saw movement. Pete's transformed body was loping toward me on all fours, faster than any human could run. I tried the radio one more time. "Base, this is Vasquez. Emergency. I need backup at Copper Canyon immediately." Through the static, I heard my own voice. "Again, they can't help you, Elena. No one can help you now." As the creature reached the back of my jeep, I knew I had only one choice. I grabbed my backpack, jumped out the opposite side, and ran toward the only place I could think of that might offer some protection, the radio tower on the mesa. My grandmother had always said that evil spirits couldn't cross running water, or touch metal that carries the voices of men. It wasn't much, but it was all I had. As I ran, the sun dipped below the horizon, and darkness began to swallow Copper Canyon. I ran until my lungs burned. The metal stairs of the radio tower clanged under my boots as I climbed. Below me, I could hear Peter, the thing that used to be Pete, growling and circling the base of the tower. It wouldn't come up the metal stairs. Not yet, anyway. Inside the small radio station at the top, I locked the door and leaned against it, trying to catch my breath. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of everything. The skinwalker had said my grandmother was a powerful medicine woman. That was true. She knew all the old healing songs and prayers. But why would that make me special? I'd turned my back on all of that. Then it hit me. The skinwalker wasn't just attacking random people. Pete had been talking about leaving the reservation for years, wanting to sell his land to mining companies. And the names in the visitor log, they were all people who had taken artifacts from sacred sites. The skinwalker was targeting people who had abandoned or disrespected the old ways, people like me. My radio crackled to life. "Elena," it was my grandmother's voice again. "There's a family of hikers camping by the sacred spring. They don't know they're in danger. You need to help them." I looked out the window. In the distance, I could see a small campfire glowing near one of the ancient springs that the Navajo considered holy places. "And there's something else," the voice continued. "Someone broke into the old cave where the ancestors' remains are kept. They're stealing bones right now." I looked in the other direction and saw flashlight beams bobbing near the cliff dwellings. "You can't save both, Elena. Choose the innocent family or your ancestors' remains." I closed my eyes. This was a test. The skinwalker was trying to force me to break a tribal taboo, no matter which choice I made. "I won't choose," I said out loud. "This is a trick." The radio laughed. My grandmother's kind laugh twisted into something cruel. "Then they all die. Their blood will be on your hands." I needed to think. My grandmother had taught me that skinwalkers gained power from fear and shame. Mine had been growing stronger all day, feeding off my guilt about leaving the reservation, about not being there when she died. What was it Pete had said before he transformed? That my grandmother was the most powerful medicine woman in 3 generations, and now the Skinwalker was wearing her face, using her voice. A terrible thought occurred to me. What if it wasn't just imitating her? What if it had taken her somehow? "Grandmother," I whispered, "if you're in there somewhere, I need your help." The radio static changed, becoming softer, almost like gentle breathing. "Alina," the voice was still my grandmother's, but different now, weaker. "I'm sorry, Shiazi. I should never have turned you away." Tears filled my eyes. "Grandmother, is it really you? Listen carefully. The Skinwalker has held me since my death. It uses the spirits of powerful medicine people to grow stronger. How do I stop it?" I asked. "Remember the cleansing ceremony? The one I taught you when you were little?" I did remember. It was a ritual to drive away evil spirits, with songs and prayers that had been passed down for generations. But I hadn't practiced in years. "I can't do it alone," I said. "I don't remember all the words." "You won't be alone," she said. "Look around you. What do you see?" I looked at the radio equipment, transmitters, microphones, speakers. Then I understood. I grabbed the microphone and turned on the main transmitter. It was powerful enough to broadcast across the entire reservation. I set it to the emergency frequency that every household on the reservation was required to have. Outside, I heard the Skinwalker howling in rage. It knew what I was planning. The door to the station began to shake as something heavy slammed against it. The hinges creaked. I worked quickly, connecting wires and turning dials the way I'd learned in the Air Force. The technical skills I'd gained in the white man's world would now help me perform one of the oldest ceremonies of my people. The door splintered as I switched on the microphone. I began to sing. The ancient words came back to me, rising from some deep place in my memory. I sang the cleansing songs, the prayers for protection, the chants that called to the ancestor spirits for help. My voice went out across the airwaves, reaching every corner of the reservation. I imagined families gathering around their radios, elders recognizing the songs, joining in. The Skinwalker burst through the door, no longer bothering with human form. It was a twisted mass of fur and claws and teeth, with eyes that burned like coals. "You can't stop me," it snarled. "You're not pure enough, not Navajo enough." I kept singing, my voice growing stronger. As I sang, I felt something strange happening. The air in the room began to glow with a soft blue light. Shapes formed in the light, human shapes, the ancestors, drawn by the songs, by the prayers. The Skinwalker backed away, hissing. Through the radio came more voices, elders from across the reservation, joining in the ceremony. Their voices mixed with mine, creating a wall of sound that made the Skinwalker shrink back further. "This isn't over," it growled. "I'll find another way in, another lost soul to feed on." "No," I said, pausing my song. "You won't, because I understand now. The power my grandmother had wasn't just hers. It belongs to all of us who keep the old ways alive, even those of us who left and came back." I took off my turquoise necklace and held it up. It glowed blue in the strange light. "I am Alina Maria Vasquez Bege, daughter of the Dine, granddaughter of Anna Bege, medicine woman. I may have left, but the desert never left me. The old ways never left me." The Skinwalker lunged at me, but the blue light flared brighter. The ancestor spirits moved between us, forming a barrier. I resumed the ceremony, singing louder now. The Skinwalker writhed and twisted, caught in the web of song and prayer. As I reached the final verse, I saw my grandmother's spirit separate from the creature, breaking free. She smiled at me, her real smile. "Ayeshiaji. Thank you, my little one." The Skinwalker gave one final, terrible scream as the ancestor spirits closed in around it. There was a flash of light, so bright I had to cover my eyes. When I could see again, the Skinwalker was gone. In its place was a small pile of ash on the floor, but something was wrong. I felt weak, drained. The ceremony had taken more from me than I had to give. I slumped to the floor, my strength fading. My grandmother's spirit knelt beside me. "Am I dying?" I asked. "Your body is," she said gently. "The ceremony required a sacrifice. You gave everything you had." "I'm scared," I whispered. "Don't be, CRC. This isn't the end." As my vision began to darken, I felt her hand in mine, solid now, warm. "What happens next?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "You've become like us," she said, "a guardian spirit. Your voice will remain in the radio static, warning others when evil approaches. Your spirit will protect the boundaries of our land. Will I be with you?" She smiled. "Always. We have much to catch up on." I closed my eyes for the last time as a human, but it wasn't the end. It was a beginning.